But we are live-ish.
Awesome.
If you're interested. So I just wanted to explain to everyone, Melissa isn't here today. She is babysitting because someone's having a baby. You know, I would make her wait or just not. Fucking bullshit. How do we do this? Now we got to start over. I don't know how. See, she needs to be here for this shit, or else it just goes way off. All right, I think we're good now. Now we will. All right, so whatever. I don't know if I'm gonna keep that in. Let's just fucking start all the way over again. So Melissa's not here right now. She is babysitting for a couple that's having a baby today, and I don't know why they would induce labor on the day of our podcast. I mean, total idiots, huh?
Total idiots.
I mean, you got to wait for that kind of shit.
Obviously disrespectful. I mean,
have some fucking respect for the art.
Exactly.
So anyway, we have Dave PERLICH here of Morelia Evolution. Can you explain just real quickly about what you keep? And
I've been into Morelia pretty much since I was 20 years old. I've always had some form of Morelia in my collection, whatever direction my collection was going at that point. And in 2007 or 2008, I decided to up my game a little bit and start keeping carpet pythons. And unlike everybody else who keeps jungles because they're gorgeous black and yellow things, I keep coastals, which are like,
it depends.
It depends. They could be tan, they could be dark green. Some of mine have a purple tinge to them. It's pretty badass. But I've been doing that since 2008, and I've been breeding them pretty consistently since 2010 or 11.
And then as far as coastals, I mean, there's a lot of locality stuff and morph stuff. What are you messing with? More
I don't
mutations?
do localities. I have been tempted to do localities. I just not that type of a guy. I tend to be a purist. I don't like mixing the different subspecies, but as far as localities go, I hate to say this, I just don't care.
Also, you may turn around and they're the same thing or totally different things. You never really know.
I do a variation of the M-Pen coastal because most of my coastal stuff has come from Michael Pinnell. Which for those of you that don't know, his stuff comes from Lloyd Lemke, who just had a way of getting shit in the 90s.
So Lemke line's the same exact thing pretty much as M-Pen? Okay, I didn't know, because I've heard them both floating around.
It's a little bit different because Lemke did one thing with him and Michael's done something completely different with his.
Yeah.
And then it's weird because like all my shits come from him. Oh, sorry. All my shits come from him.
Yeah.
And him and I'll go through pictures and everything, and he'll go, "Is that one of mine?" And I'm like, "It came from your stuff." And he goes, "What are you doing with it?" I'm like, "I'm breeding the hell out of it. What are you doing with it? What would you do with it?" And he goes, "I don't keep anything like that." So even when you start with the same stuff, you can go completely different directions and not even compete with each other.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about, me and Austin were talking a little bit about like, when do I call something a line? Because it's hard because there's so many lines out there, and it's like I feel like you can't stamp your own line because it's a little.
I don't even know when you would begin. I guess whenever you have
whenever you have something that's totally different, I guess,
and you produce something consistent.
Mm-hmm. So as far as coastals, you're working with some caramel tiger stuff, right?
I am very, very odd in the carpet world in the fact that I prefer bands over stripes. I don't do stripes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have a couple tigers mainly because they always sell. And
I was going to say, I definitely saw some tigers from you or something.
And I really, really, really love caramel stuff, and I love caramel jags. It's the only reason why I have a jaguar in my collection is because I wanted caramel jags, and I have 3 of them now.
Awesome. So did you produce last year? Is that what you produced last year?
No, last year I took off because I moved. I produced the year before.
Okay. Because I saw you had some animals for sale. I guess those were a year old. Which is like, honestly, a good time to sell your carpets.
You take a little teeny tiny baby that first and foremost, you pick it up and all it does is strike at you. and try to explain to somebody that in 6 months, if you're consistent, first and foremost, try to explain to somebody that it doesn't hurt when they bite.
Yeah.
Second, in 6 months of like gentle handling, they're going to be fine. They're going to be calm.
Yeah.
You might get bit opening up the cage, but I mean, hell, your corn snakes bite you.
Everything, if you don't treat it with the proper, if you don't know the animal and treat it with the proper respect and you just stick your hand in there, at some point, everything bites.
Exactly.
When it comes to that.
My big caramel girl, you will get bit 100% of the time every time you reach into that cage. You have to get a hook, you have to get her started, and you have to get her coming out on her own before you reach in there and grab her. That's just how she is. Same thing with my male scrub. He's about the same temperament wise. Once you get him out, he's fine. It's just a process of getting him out. He's a pain. And then, yeah, we're not going to discuss the female scrub because she's Satan incarnate.
Yeah, I mean, I think people realize at this point that it's much more rare to have a scrub that when it comes out, it's nice rather than have one that's always a crazy fucking dickhead. But
I have video. My brother-in-law shot video of me handling my female scrub where I must have caught her like on a fantastic mood because she was actually decent.
Is there stuff going on the other end as far as is it musking?
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
They piss, defecate, and musk all over you.
I'm not sure what I would rather. I'd probably rather get bit than the shit is just.
With scrubs, it's.
Well,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about other people's experiences. My experience with them is that they like to piss all over you and then bite you and rub and force the piss into your skin.
Yeah, that sounds like a staph infection or whatever you can pick up.
It's called you have to clean up really, really, really well.
It's called your farm bred scrub just gave you a parasite.
No. She's not farm bred. There was no farm breeding involved with her. She is straight wild caught.
Even better.
Absolutely. She is long-term captive. So, and my quarantine and deparasiting procedure is a lot different than Austin's. I don't do anything with them.
You're like, it will run its course.
Well, most of the bugs inside.
Or you didn't see anything.
Most of the bugs inside of them, it is more important to get them rehydrated, get them calmed down, get them de-stressed, and get them eating than it is to parasite them. And usually within a month or so, most of the parasite load is out of their body. At least in my experience, that's how it's been. If there's anything left after a month, then I'll go through and do that.
So as far as you think, you just don't want to put extra stress on the animal when it first comes in?
With scrubs, it is imperative that you get them eating, get them hydrated, get them unstressed out, put them in the least kind of stressful environment that you can possibly
Now, you would think a pissed off snake is a snake that would eat the most. Do you not find that with scrubs? Or is that somewhat true?
No,
once they get going?
It's very true.
Okay.
I had what was his name that I sold it? I want to say Matt Morris bought a scrub off of me. And she's the only scrub that I've ever had do this. She would go off feed for 4 months out of the year. And then once she started eating again, she would eat.
Kill it.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think maybe if it's wild caught, it's in an area where you may have some type of migration or something. Maybe she eats a shit ton of birds at some point that are passing through and then nothing shows up. So she goes off feed. Maybe that's a natural cycle that is perpetually happening in
Have you ever
captivity,
heard Vin Russo talk about the insular boas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they don't eat for 10 months out of the year. And then they eat every single day for like a month or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it could be that type of thing.
A quick recap on that. So it's basically these boas that are, separated on islands and just hanging out in very small, areas of Central America, South America, wherever those islands are located. But on the islands don't have many species of pretty much any prey items. And then during a certain season, a migration of birds will come through and then they will chow on that a lot, very, very heavily, and then not eat for the rest of the year.
Actually, listening to him talk is how I developed my feed schedule. I feed very lightly throughout the year. I don't make them go 9-10 months without food, unless you're my big normal ball python that does that on her own.
That's a ball python thing.
For those of you that don't know, that is very, very, very much a ball python thing. They tend to go off food. But I feed very, very sparingly, and then starting usually August or September, I start feeding very, very heavily. Like I go from once every 6 to 8 weeks to once every 2 weeks, and then once a week in like September and October, and then I cut it off again.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do something similar. I try to have at least some type of change as far as a seasonal change, to where once that female, at least for the carpet, I would hope once she gets big meals, since she never gets big meals, she'd be like, oh, fuck, now it's time.
Like my big caramel girl got rabbits for the first time this year. And I discovered
that's hardcore for a carpet.
Ryan said, you have a carpet that's big enough to take rabbits? And I'm like, yeah, she's like 10 years old.
Also, that's probably a snake old enough to where you fed it before you knew any better.
That's why she's 7 feet long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have those snakes that you got when you were young, and that thing is like way bigger than you thought, because you're like, yeah, just feed it once a week forever.
She is the only one in my collection that I honestly think could do bigger than a 4-foot cage, a 4-foot by 2-foot cage. I'm pretty sure she would be happier in like a 4x3. She's the only carpet in my collection. My scrubs would love cages that size too, but
yeah,
it hasn't happened yet.
What's weird about carpets is I feel like people sometimes are even like, a 4-foot cage is too small, but then you have retics in 6-foot cages, and that's like the standard to keep them in 6-foot cages. And then it's like, wait a second, so you're talking about this male retic that's like 10 feet long, and then this carpet that's like 5 to 6 feet long. So why is there such a discrepancy when they're both pretty semi-arboreal and pretty active snakes? Why doesn't 1 and 1 equal 2?
I have no earthly idea, because that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
And then also, I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the hobby as far as we decided some snakes need to be kept really small, and then some snakes the opposite. When in the same thing, I don't know.
Across the board. I think in general, if you talk to anybody who's been doing this a very long time, in general, our snakes are overheated.
Yep.
Fed too much.
Yep.
Overweight and way too big.
Yeah.
Across the board, all of them. Getting back to Ryan, his collection of retics is, I'm actually dumbfounded at how small some of his like 12-year-old girls are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, when I see some people that shall remain nameless have those 20-foot females with they're the size of like a soccer ball across, like they have zero muscle definition. There's no spine. They're a big blob of fucking shit, just so you can have YouTube personalities come and squat them and you make videos about them. I'm not naming any names, of course.
So that way, instead of getting, I don't even know what the average retic egg clutch size is, but we'll say
1 million, according to that.
Instead of getting 20 to 30 good eggs and having a good reproductive life for that female, instead you're getting 70 to 100 eggs, and the reproductive life is probably going to be cut in half. So which is better? I mean, I guess in the long...
Well, the thing is, it's about money. So the morph actually depreciates in value. So that female's dead. So we just replace it with another female. So we can get 70 eggs out of the new gene for 4 years. Who needs that old gene female? She'll just die.
Yeah, fuck that.
But I'm saying, isn't that why that happens? Because you're not thinking of the long-term health of the animal.
Well,
you're thinking about your short-term success as far as getting 1 million mutations in it.
All right, we'll go back to carpets.
That might be talking a little shit.
I actually know the clutch sizes for carpets. So which is better? If you look at the long term with it, the total eggs out of a female is probably going to be about the same.
if you're looking at a female human, they have a finite amount of eggs that you're going to produce. So that may also happen
with snakes, but I have no earthly idea.
It may happen with snakes, but we don't know things about snakes.
No, no. As you said earlier, we're at about the 1500s when it comes to our snake health, our reptile health. But so in the long term, over the long term, the total amount of eggs, the total amount of babies would probably be about the same. But which is better, to have a reproductive life of 10 to 12 years, or a reproductive life 10 to 12 years and have the snake live 20 to 30 years, or have a reproductive life of like 4 years and the snake only lives a decade?
Yeah.
I guess if you're going by the market and producing new morphs, the latter would probably be your best bet. So, because that way you'd never have a morph live longer than a decade. And
God knows we barely even got to a decade with most of the morphs.
I know.
And they disappear. Like, where did all those female pastel ball pythons go?
Oh, I have no earthly idea. And then you have reptile breeders out there or ball python breeders out there who feed their males every single day to get them up to breeding size by 3 to 6 months. And what happens to them a year or two from doing that?
I just always want to err, at least in my collection, to underfeeding rather than overfeeding. I feel like underfeeding is much rarer an issue unless you're obviously insane and you don't have eyeballs in your head. Like, if you see a corn snake where you can see all of its ribs, you gotta feed that thing. You can open up a tub, and I've done it a couple times over the winter with a male that's been very, very, very busy. And I pull him out of the female's cage, put him in his tub, gonna feed him a meal or something. I open up the tub and I'm like, oh dear Lord, you look rough. You're getting a month off. Yeah. They look skinny. I mean, that will depreciate a snake much quicker than pretty much anything else. They look skinny. You can see their ribs. You can see their spine. It's like you look at them and you go, yeah, no, you're off for the rest of the year. Which, I mean, if you didn't breed them, they would probably be completely fine. But for whatever reason, like, if you're having a snake expend any bit of energy, it's much more than he would if you're not. So that kind of brings us to we were kind of talking about before, that it's easy to keep snakes, especially once they get to a certain age. Once they're like 1 year old, they're established. You're like, all right, we're pretty cool. And then you start breeding the snake, and then that's where you run into problems, especially with females. And you're putting two animals together, and granted, the bugs that are in your room, because every snake room has bugs. Every snake room has a certain level of bacteria, a certain level of parasites, whatever you want to do. And you're sticking a male in with your female, and you're basically just doubling the amount of bugs that she's. Yeah, no matter what, you're introducing whatever he has to her. Exactly. And vice versa. And sometimes, well, actually, no, like 90-95% of the time it goes off without a hitch. You have no issues. Then there's that 5% of the time. And yeah, that's a whole thing. I was wondering if I should everyone keeps their carpet pythons in the breed for the winter. Mm-hmm. But for me, what I find is not many other species do that. So I was like, I wonder if I should just introduce, and then, just because she doesn't kick that male off the hot spot, and then I don't get RIs in my males. But I mean, maybe we just don't have carpet breeding tuned in good enough, because ball pythons, you can do that, right? You know exactly when the female's ready to go. You put them in, they're doing it real quick. I wonder if there was a way to do small introductions like that in carpets. Okay. Talking with ball python breeders, even the ones who don't have an ultrasound, they can look at a female and tell about how big their follicles are. Yeah. And I'm wondering if you can do something. I didn't bring in the bottle opener. I'm wondering if you can get in tune with your carpet pythons that same way. All right. Learned that in college. Badass. That's a college education for you. That's pretty much all I got. That and lots of debt. Lots of debt. It's like my wife. My wife has the same problem.
She has an excellent alcohol tolerance.
She can open a bottle
She can
with her teeth.
No, not with her teeth. She doesn't want to ruin her teeth that way. But she can open up a bottle, and she's got a lot of debt.
Yeah, it's classic. What the hell were we talking about? We got distracted by trying to open a beer bottle. But so breeding carpets, as far as introducing males to females and the possibility of problems there.
I would think that similar to ball pythons, where you can take a look at them and see.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. Years of ADD and having to keep track of my own conversations.
No, the two of us together, we're never gonna get this. This is gonna be a 4-hour podcast, and it's gonna be on the cosmos and everything other than snakes.
I can look at my females and I can tell when they're building, and I 100% absolutely cannot tell you what I am looking for, but I can just look at them and go, there's something going on with you.
Yeah.
And you need more food and you need a boy.
Yeah. So are you looking for like high pressure systems, like, or low pressure systems?
I love when storms come through. I love when the hurricane came through. I paired up my animals.
Really?
And I got locks.
Holy shit.
Yep. And
you think that was just some fun loving, or was that maybe you're hoping that spurs follicle growth? Or
I'm hoping it starts follicle growth.
Yeah. Because I always did that with balls, to where I let the female know it was the season by giving her
a couple
good
freebies,
pokes. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, then they're like, oh, okay, like this is what's happening. And then they start going.
Yeah. So. And then they start building, and then they build, and then they ovulate, and then your snake that is always hungry, you go in to feed it one day after it sheds and it should be starving, and it looks at you like, fuck you, I don't want food. What is wrong with you? And it goes to the other side of the cage.
Yeah. Then well, for me also is I put the male in, and then they separate immediately. The female's like, fuck you. We've been fucking all year, but not today.
Not today. We're done. Get out.
So, I mean, and that's certain things. Like, I always I hate telling people, like, giving advice, because first of all, I don't know shit. No one knows. We don't know shit about snakes in general. And like, every snake's different, and you need to know by watching. As far as you say, when a female's ready to go, like, it's all just experience. Nothing can take up for experience.
The particular female that I'm talking about, when I can tell by looking, she is 10 years old. She has bred.
You've opened that tub over and over again.
She started breeding when she pissed me off, and she didn't breed till she was 5, and she bred. And if I breed this year, this will be her 4th year producing for me.
That's very good.
I know what that bitch looks like when she's getting ready to do anything.
Yeah.
And it's in there with your animals, knowing your animals, and knowing what they look like normally, knowing what they look like abnormally and shit.
And I think that's the cool thing about you're kind of in that sweet spot, which is where, like, I kind of want to stay to where you're at, maybe like 50 animals. I feel like once you get to that point where you're like, I don't know what's in this tub. Like, if you told me, like, hey, what's in that tub, third one up, you know exactly what animal that is. I think you lose touch after a certain amount. I'm not sure what the amount would be. But
I'm not 100% sure. I know every animal in my baby rack. I'm just not 100% sure on its position.
No, the babies I can't tell you now. I block them out of my head.
My grow-ups and my subadults and my male rack and my cages, I know where everything is. Like,
especially if you're like, this one, when I open the tub, will try to bite my face off.
This one, when you open up the tub, likes to come flying out face first, because he's always fucking hungry and he wants to eat your face.
Yeah, you definitely know where your scrub is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I always make sure I know where she is before I open up the cage.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the fun, where people that don't know your collection, like, I used to have my roommate Ryan, and I'd be like, hey man, just open this tub for me, I'm going to clean him. And of course it's a dickhead, but I mean, your animals as far as everything like that. So do you think, or how many animals do you have, and then how do you go about?
I have
track of
between
everything?
40 and 60. I'm not 100% sure on the exact number. But
No, I'm not asking for an exact number because none of us know.
Yeah. If you have more than 10, you don't know the exact number that you have. And if you breed, you don't know how many you have.
It's like the person who counts their tattoos when it's like, once you have a few, like if you ask me how many tattoos I have, I'm like, I don't know.
I have tattoos. That's all I know.
Yeah,
I have
same
two.
with snakes. Once you get past 30,
I have 2 tattoos. I know exactly which 2 they are.
Yeah.
As soon as I start adding more to it, I won't know.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Dude, Melissa usually keeps me on course with this stuff, and she'll like whisper to me like what we're talking about, but we're fucked.
Yeah, we are.
So for carpets, do you keep anything else other than fucking bulls? Let's talk about bulls.
Oh God, bulls are awesome. I love bull snakes.
Yeah.
Mine are. I tried breeding them for the first time this year. Got eggs. I don't know what the hell happened to the eggs. The eggs went bad.
You fucked up colubrid eggs.
Apparently.
You're drunk. Go home.
Probably. They are awesome. I have a hypo Stillwater, pair of flames, and a pair of Easterns. And I have 1 Texas yellow bull that was given to me. And Tony, I still hate you for that snake.
Tony Jerome, is that who you got him from? I tried to have Tony on the show, but he won't talk.
He won't. It's weird. He's a good guy. Love him to death. Been over to his house a couple times, and you go over to his house and get him talking, and
I'll just record him in secret. So, yeah, because I mean, he's like, yeah, come over see my collection. And I'm like, so I mean, I'll do that. I'll butter him up, hopefully, to get him over here sometime. But it's so cool that people are even willing to come over. But
you would have to get him talking about his Apodora.
That's what I'm saying. If I had olives, I just have the wrong kind of olives.
You have the boring Australian olives.
Yeah, I have the ones that have good head structure and don't look like they've been punched in the face and have pretty solid.
They are very, very boxy in the head, aren't they?
It's very boa-esque,
yeah,
in a way, as where that snout just stops and then
they
curves down. It's weird.
Everything.
I see them feed them drumsticks.
In the wild, they eat scrub pythons.
Savages.
Yes.
I tried to feed my olive a corn snake, wouldn't have it.
No shit. I have a Woma
Mexican blacks all day. You know?
Crebo all day. My Woma will eat baby carpet pythons like that.
Yeah. It's always good to have one of those around. And if you tell that to someone in casual conversation, they'll like, you're a monster. But not all babies make it.
My wife looked at me the first time I told her, she goes, what is this snake's purpose? At the time I had a yellowtail Crebo, and I'm like, well, it serves 2 purposes. Number 1, it's very close to being lapid, and I miss my cobras. Number 2, it eats my babies that I don't force feed. Yeah. Every single time I force feed, you come in and you pull up the tub and they're dead.
Yeah.
So I don't force feed. Either you're going to make it or you're going to be food.
I mean, some people say that that's a gene that you may pass on. So problem feeder may have more problem feeder babies. So they try to get that out of their collection. That's an old corn thing.
That could be in the blood python community.
Yes and no, because I mean, just captive generations that we've had so far have gotten much better feeders over time. But
yeah,
I don't know if it's 1 for 1. I think it's more of as a collective, we've gotten better.
I wonder if it's kind of like the striping gene in carpets, where you need A, B, and C to line up perfectly for striping. You know, you need A, B, and C to line up perfectly for I don't fucking want to eat mice.
Yeah, I guess. And also, it seems like if you have some genes at carp or ball pythons, not to be on ball pythons, but certain genes do eat better than others.
Pieds and spiders.
But also, how long have those been in the hobby? Forever, the first motherfuckers.
Pied was the second recessive mutation ever proven out, and I don't know if it was pinstripe or spider that was the first one, but it was one of those 2 was first.
I think it was
second.
Spider.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are just very well established snakes. So even though the spider's neuro And
it's the same thing as a jag.
Yeah, it's literally, it's so weird that you can have the same exact expression, the same exact behavior, the same exact everything, and it looks similar in a certain way because you're seeing what it does with the melanin, and it has the same neuro issue.
Batik and blood pythons is the exact same thing as a zebra
I think
carpet.
just all pythons have one, or like in corns we have some stargazer stuff, some stuff that carries. I mean, you're working with broken.
I didn't know stargazing was
some people, I don't know what mutation is connected with, but you'll see some people say non-stargazing, and I'm not sure. I'm not as well versed as I should be in corn morphs, but you know, I mean, it just seems like all snakes, once you're fucking with mutations.
Well, you're taking a faulty gene, and you are, God only knows what that faulty gene does. Like, oh God, what is it?
It changes appearance, but it may change something else.
I was going to say in Dalmatians, the amount of melanin on your ear dictates whether or not it's deaf or blind. I can't remember which one. So literally your dog's ability will go with deaf. Your dog's ability to hear is dependent upon how many black spots it has on its ear.
But it's like, hey man, why don't we just get the million other dogs? Why don't we stop inbreeding Dalmatians? To where's the point? In the UK, they stopped at some shows carrying spiders. They won't have people sell spiders.
Did that actually pass?
I don't agree or disagree with it. Yeah, there's a show that you can't sell spider.
I heard that they were trying to. I didn't know that they had actually passed it. Okay.
So, you know, I understand them trying to be on the forefront of herpetological fucking well-being, because obviously we need some policing, right?
Yes. We have attempted to police ourselves, and it is very obvious that we are unable to police ourselves.
Yeah, honestly, we just come from a crew of, I mean, you look at the 70s and how mixed in the exotic animal trade is with the drug trade, and there was cocaine in boa constrictors. It's all intertwined. You came from a group of fucking scoundrels, and it's like some of that hasn't been bred out yet, if you can say that. And if you meet enough reptile people, you'll know it.
It's weird. The ball python craze has brought reptiles a little bit more mainstream.
Yeah.
Because we have a whole lot of doctors, lawyers, basically.
Well, there's money now.
Yeah. Basically, really. At least on the outside, upstanding citizens, as opposed to the outlaw people that met on the side of the road, and you didn't know whether or not you were buying an ounce of coke or a king snake.
Hopefully both, and have a good time. So yeah, because I'm reading Bill Love's autobiography right now.
Oh, badass.
And yeah, he just came out with it. I saw him. NERBC is where I ended up picking it up. But it's like,
oh, I should have bought that. I missed that table entirely.
Do you know how far we've come? It came from like everyone back in the day just keeping all wild caught stuff, never trying to breed, just trading it with everyone else. He made like 3 trips around the country just to hang out and visit different herpers and stuff. In the meanwhile, picking up, you know, Atrox and picking up Transpico's rats, everything on the way to trade once he got to California, because they didn't have this stuff, and then traded that for some wild caught, you know, gophers and, you know, whatever it is. But we came from a hobby of where we just tried to keep things alive, to the fact that these things now have value. They didn't have any value. No one gave a shit. There was just a snake for a snake, and some nerds liked them and decided to trade them. So I think it's interesting.
We have come a very long way, and it's really, 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 really shitty.
It's great and bad.
Well, no, I was going to say it's really shitty that one of the worst people in our hobby is actually responsible for the hobby being where it is today.
Now I'm curious.
Bob Clark, he's responsible for the first 2 really high dollar morphs. Him and a business partner,
Crutchfield. I mean, Crutchfield brought in.
He proved out the albino Burmese, and I want to say,
but and then gave it to Bob.
Yeah.
So he got it from a random guy in Indonesia that
actually,
he found
I don't
in a
think
magazine
Crutchfield actually
or something.
bred the proved out.
I think he bought it and then money talked when Bob tried to get it. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's what I read.
Because I know Crutchfield breeds, and Crutchfield has, if I ever get a chance, if you ever get a chance, go visit him. His facility, from what I've seen on YouTube, is fucking amazing.
And plus, I just want to know the stories. That's all I care. Belize prison. Tell me about the king cobra in the airport. Tell me about all that shit. I'm interested in all the history of. I think more people now are interested in just the mutations and stuff like that, but I want to know all the history and everything behind everything we have.
I don't know who originally said it, but I'm going to steal something that I heard Nick say. Okay. What the fuck good is it to know what color your car is? To know the color of a car without knowing how the fuck the engine works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Same thing with snakes. What the fuck good does it do you to have a ball python with 90 million mutations inside of it if you don't know where that ball python came from and you don't know its natural
Most people
habitat?
don't know it's from West Africa who have ball pythons, but I know that my olive python was smuggled by Hank Malt for a fucking zoo back in the 70s, and I'm like, it's crazy that that snake came from this thing that was probably put in a sock under, generations and generations, has been brought to me. All the Australian stuff is just so awesome that it exists and so sketchy. Just so
I happen to know that the ancestors of my T-negative blood python came from a skin factory. Is where they were
did Cam save them from a skin factory?
I don't know. I don't know exactly how that works, but what they do is I don't know who brought them in, obviously, but they'll go out and they'll collect blood pythons for the skin trade.
Yeah.
And then, so while they're in a gigantic pile in whatever warehouse they happen to be getting ready to kill them,
you pick the ones that look the best.
They'll look and they'll go,
hydrated.
that one looks fucking weird. Pick that one out. And then that'll go into the pet thing and the rest of them get skinned.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird thing to where we act like we didn't. A lot of the Asian colubrids and stuff come from Cam from Bushmaster.
Mm-hmm.
He went over there back in the day and was like, oh, they're going to eat all these? Why don't I, buy them for $5 in China and ship them over to us where we're going to pay $1,000 for a beauty snake? Those are all animals that were going into the food, into the food market in China. So what he did was just take them and sell them to us. But I mean, I'm glad we have them.
Same here.
But I mean, that's why we've come a long way in husbandry and stuff, because they were going to the food trade, so they never took care of these snakes. So
the blood pythons,
that's why back in the day it was sketchy.
They're going to, I don't know if they hang them by the neck or by the tail, but they're basically just going to hang them up, skin them, and then cook the meat and sell the skin.
Retics go the same way. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're going to have a trade in them and it's going to do something other than kill them, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I mean, you love snakes so much, and I admire the people who have those species, to where I know a guy who keeps mostly the Asian colubrids, but like the ones you don't know of. He has like the bird eaters and the paradise snake, like the weird shit. And he's like, yeah, like 50% of my snakes died. Like I spent hundreds of dollars and most of them die. I'm just trying to figure out how to keep them alive. And I'm like, I kind of wish I had the wherewithal or like the desire to be like, let me figure this out and not mind that I'm going to kill a bunch of snakes. Because that's what everyone did, even with carpets and all that. The Barkers probably killed a shit ton of snakes before they found out how to keep them.
Yeah, they did. If you ever get a chance to talk to Dave, actually,
I've never even seen Dave.
Talk to Tracy.
Yeah.
Tracy is a wealth of knowledge. Just an absolute.
I just wish they would be more open with that knowledge, because I feel like they are in a hole.
They are, and they're in a kind of a. They are currently working very, very diligently to keep our hobby alive and keep our hobby from being regulated. And they're very deeply involved with controlling the regulations from the government and from the states and everything.
Really?
So that's kind of where their focus is. They do still I know they breed boas. I know they breed ball pythons
Bloods.
and bloods.
Mostly, right?
And she has blood morphs that are amazing.
Yeah. I mean, if you see their table at any RBC, amazing, but none of them are for sale. So it's like
you'll have 90% of the table is just absolutely gorgeous snakes, and then like not for sale, 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 not for sale. Oh yeah, by the way, this normal, that's for sale.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I just want to get there. I mean, they write books and stuff. Maybe one day they'll give the whole story. I just wish people were more open about 100% everything. It's hard to do that sometimes.
It is. It's very hard to do
because people jump down your fucking throat, and it's like, I'm just trying to be the one honest person.
It's not only that, it's you will get so much heat in this hobby. Like if you sell a snake and for whatever reason you can't ship it for a couple of weeks, and then you contact the person who bought it and said, hey man, this thing's developed a little bit of a rasp. I'm going to keep it for a couple of weeks, take it to the vet, get it looked at. All of a sudden, your entire collection is sick and dying, and nobody will buy from you.
Turns out it's a percentage game. If you have a large collection, I mean, that's why I try not to scrutinize too much as far as that goes on some people.
It's like we were talking earlier about mites. Everybody gets mites. If you say you don't have mites, you obviously have one, maybe two snakes, and you've only been keeping them for 6 months to a year.
And you should look at them closer next time.
And go in and take a look at the cage, because I can almost guarantee you, if you say you don't have mites, you do have mites.
And it's like, you never exactly know where they come from. And I've had bouts where I keep my snakes in brumation near a drafty window, and all of a sudden you have mites immediately.
I do my brumation in my garage, and when I pull them out, they have mites.
Yeah. And it's like, where are these ferocious snake eaters? Like, what are they doing? What the fuck? I thought they were pretty specific to cold-blooded animals. So it's like, where are these fuckers just waiting to jump on my captive snake?
I have no earthly idea.
What are they doing the rest of the year? Like, there's no other snakes for them to jump on. I'm confused.
Where the fuck did you come from in a garage? Like, who knows?
We clearly don't know anything about these. No. Like, yeah, I mean, like we said before, like we were talking before, we don't know anything about keeping snakes and the sickness involved.
I have been keeping snakes regularly since I was 7 years old. 6 or 7, something like that. So 30 years I've been keeping snakes, and I can say that I have a fairly good idea of what I'm doing. I have a fairly good idea about what works for me, but that's about all that I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think that there's no veterinary medicine. There's not much research on snakes. So like we were talking before, you go to the vet, they give you a certain amount of antibiotics. Then you come back when that doesn't work. They treat another one, and then another one, and then another one until your snake dies. That's pretty much the process.
Until one out of two things happen. Either the bug that's causing it finally dies, or the snake dies. One of the two.
And then I've honestly never had a snake come back from an RI. I think that's just because the times that I had it,
I've had my bouts with RIs most of the time.
And then you find that the same snake gets them too.
Once they get them, with carpets, it hasn't been as bad with the recurrence. Blood pythons, once they get it once, they are so sedentary, and they have their one lung is so big that once a bug gets in there and starts producing, you can't fully eradicate it. And so they'll just keep getting them.
And that's such a stressful process on the animal.
Oh God, it is.
Everything.
If I ever have a vet tell me to do oral medication on a blood python or scrub python, I'm going to tell him he can come over to my house and do it his damn self, because I'm not grabbing them behind the head and putting a syringe down their throat. That's just too stressful on them.
I did it on a wild caught Solomon Island boa.
Oh, that was fun.
You could see how that worked out. You obviously didn't see it in my collection.
Yeah.
But it's like I made this snake live for like 2 years to where the point is like I made it not wild caught anymore, right? It's long-term captive. So it's like I finally made it. We did it, dude. Come on. Like that's good. We made it survive. And then it struck at a mouse or something and got like an impaction in its lip, and then got an infection from that. And then we did the normal 1 million types of antibiotics and nothing worked. And then by the time he said maybe we can remove it by surgery or some shit, it was already too big to do that. So
that sucks.
But it's like that kind of shit happens all the time to where we just don't know what we're doing.
I would just barely call my female scrub long-term captive. She was imported in late 2010, early 2011 as a red baby, which scrubs, when they come out of the egg, are red, and then they develop their coloring within 1 or 2 sheds. So she was really fresh when she came in. And 2010, 2011, so it's 2007. So she's 6 or 7 years old now, and she's just barely, I would just barely call her long-term captive. I don't know even. She might be 10 feet. Might.
Is that, I don't know what locality she is.
Maruk, Southerns.
So what do you find as far as southern scrubs? What's the size on them?
If you talk to anybody but me, it seems to be that they are between 10 and 15 feet long. I seem to be doing really well at keeping mine under 10 feet.
Yeah.
But I feed very lightly. They are the only snakes in my collection that are fed like insular boas. Where
seasonally.
Very seasonally. Very seasonally. If they get fed off season, it like she's 10 feet long and that big around, she might get a medium rat off season every 8 to 9 weeks. Yeah.
So are you doing like appropriately sized meals to the width of the snake? And then how often?
I am doing, for most of the year, I am doing almost repulsively small meals.
Yeah.
Like meals where you think that they wouldn't even be able to wrap it. And then come about August, that's when she starts getting like large rats and rabbits. And she gets large rats or rabbits for 2 to 3 months, about every 2 to 3 weeks.
So if you go from like a medium rat to a large rabbit, you're like, it is time, like as far as you're in.
I am 100% telling that bitch, listen, you need to start doing something.
Yeah. She's like, this is when, all the food comes this certain time of year.
Exactly.
And then that's weird. Like, but with my hognose, I can't ever feed them anything more than their body. Like you have to feed them small all the time. They don't ever want anything big. Yeah, in a way, you end up feeding like 3 pinkies instead of moving to a medium rat. So I hate for people to listen and then say, hey, like, because my jungles or my carpets in general, I only have jungles, but I feed them very large meals about every 3 weeks. Yeah. So you can either do an appropriate sized meal or do a very large meal more sparingly.
Exactly.
So, or with colubrids, small meals often in general.
I was going to say my bull snakes get fed every 5 to 7 days. And my females get fed every 5 to 7 days. My males are fed like every 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Again, that has to do more with I don't want them to get any bigger.
And you'll notice that when you feed a colubrid, they shit the next day.
Sometimes I swear they shit the same day.
And then like 2 more times randomly.
At least my bull snakes don't like paint with their feces. My king rats paint with their feces.
Yeah, I've heard that. As far as like, how big are they and are they handleable to a certain degree?
The female is not, but she's a teeny tiny baby. Most baby anythings are not very handleable. My adult is handleable. He doesn't try to bite. He will musk all over you. And I can't remember what their common name is, but it's like king stink snake or something like that, and they earn that.
Yeah.
But he doesn't bite, he doesn't do anything, he just tries to get away. If you ever want to learn how to hook like a cobra or something,
or tail things,
yeah. If you ever want to learn how to tail anything, get a king rat.
I mean, they're generally. Do you? So is your male a little bit older, or
He is
beer sip break? By the way, someone's listening and like these people just aren't talking for like 3 seconds.
He is. I have absolutely no idea when he was born. He's at least 3.
So he's
an
bigger.
adult.
Yeah.
He's quite a bit bigger. He's 4 or 5 feet long.
Yeah. But I mean, he's
next in line for a cage because he's in a CB70 rack right now.
I try to keep all my animals. If I buy an animal, I don't really want it to get much bigger than stays in a CB70, unless it's the olive python. But
with the olive python, you might not have much of a choice if you can, assuming you're successful in keeping her, 10, 15 years old.
No, I know I'm going to have
Yeah.
to go. And then also I've heard Jeff Hartwig said that you need a larger enclosure in general just to breed them. That might be the key to make them breed more often.
I've heard having an extra male does
that too.
Because apparently
competition, but
apparently male combat is very important with them. I'm going to preface this by saying that I have zero fucking experience breeding Lyasis. I am just going by what I have heard.
Mm-hmm.
And if you decide to male combat them, put the males in the same cage together, let them arch, let them figure out that it's there, and then pull whichever.
Yeah, and then they eat each other, and
because then you'll be left with one snake.
I mean, even when you put him in the female, I'm kind of glad she didn't eat the corn snake. That means she won't eat a male in the future. But I
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I'll die before I have 2 males to a female. That just doesn't happen in my collection, unless you're a jungle carpet python and I missex you and I have 3 of you.
Dude, that really, really, really it's not that bad if you have, like, I have 20 or 25 carpets. It's like
you can rearrange your plans.
If I end up with 3 males, even 3 males in a specific project, I'm like, well, okay, it's just going to be another couple years longer for me to get to where I wanted to go. Like,
you can produce a female for it, yeah.
Longer to raise one up for it. In your case, you have 3, and
like
all 3 are males.
2 males were intentional, but not the 3rd one.
Did you see the one that they tagged you in it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
that's
I made of money.
That's about what you're going to pay for
but that's about what I need. I don't want anything less of quality.
I was going to say that's a really good price on a really
nice. I know. So for context, I have a male that I thought was a female, put them together, they combated. So obviously I have 2 males, and then I'm like, fuck, I need a female. And then a perfect female comes up, beautiful highlighter line, I believe it is, from Beehoff. Is it? Or he has a different name for his line. Blaze line is the name of his line. But, and then I'm like, yeah, that's perfect, but it's $875 or $900. $975. It doesn't matter. It's a fairy tale number to me at this point, because like
it's like rent. You don't need a place to live.
Yeah, like I can get evicted and buy it for sure. And that's like more than my half. So I mean, so at this point it's like, do I buy a baby and raise it up, or do I just go fuck myself? And then it's like almost to the point where I was so discouraged, I'm like, do I just sell my carpets?
If you buy a baby, I would do Headhunter or Andrew Paris. No, Andrew Paris.
Well, Andrew Paris's are much more yellow
and
black.
he also is male heavy right now, so that's the reason why I've been seeing so many of his.
Even I've seen yearling males. Mine's more of the highlighter coloration, so I'd probably go more towards there. But then again, I mean, I'm not the jungle carpet guy. There's enough jungle carpet guys.
No, You could just keep them as really cool pets and have them eat rats.
Yeah, eat rats like once a year. You're no use to me.
I wouldn't quite go once a year, but
I mean, that jungle carpet, he eats a mouse every 2 weeks, that male. So that's why he's a corn snake. But I mean, he just eats mice because obviously for jungles, once you feed them mice, they don't like rats.
IJs do the same thing.
Really?
I didn't think that my experience raising Morelia has always been Brettles pythons and coastal carpets. Historically, two of the least hardest of the Morelia to switch over from mice to rats.
Yeah.
I have a fucking IJ that is stuck on mice. And I'm like,
really?
Okay. And it's a girl too. And I'm like, you son of a fuck.
It's like once you get on rat or mice for a female, for a male, I'm like, oh, that will keep them small.
Oh, please.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're
that's
male,
fine.
you're male and want to eat mice. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. But you have that female good burp into the mic on that one. If you're a female, you really want to pound her with those medium rats and shit. So do you have a male IJ or?
Mm-hmm. I have a male IJ and I have a 20-year-old IJ that has a hell of a story.
Holy shit. Where'd you get it from?
I bought it in 1998 at a reptile show in Grapevine.
Please tell me it was an adult male at the time or
I don't even remember what I bought it as. I have no earthly idea what I bought it as. I gave it to a friend of mine. He kept it for 20 years. He was a bit of a stoner and fed it whenever he thought about it, which turned out to be just
That's
about
perfect.
Which turned out to be just about perfect because it was about every 4 to 6 weeks. And she is 6.5, 7 feet long. Her head is like that.
I mean, that's a big IJ.
That is a gigantic IJ. And she is pissy, irritable, 20 years old, eats a medium rat every 6 to 8 weeks, and sits up on her perch like a.
That's crazy.
And then
for a large snake.
He called me up and he was like, "Do you want your snake back?" And I go, "The snake that I gave you?"
What snake? Like that thing's still...
And he said, "Yeah, the snake you gave me." And I'm like, "Hold on, wait a minute. It was like 1999 when I gave you that snake. It's still alive?" Yep, she's still alive.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a real quest in longevity as far as I don't know almost anyone who has a carpet 20 years old.
I know a few. Michael's got a few that are 20 years old. Yep.
That makes sense.
He has his O2 Limke girl, and she is phenomenal. It's one of the few coastal carpets that I've ever seen.
That makes me feel like shit when O2 is like 20 years ago.
Oh, dude, tell me about it. He has an O2 Limke girl, and
I'm like, what is that girl? 5?
She is one of the few coastals that I will say is a genuine 8 to 9 footer. Most people, when they say they have 8 to 9 foot coastals, I'm 6'3", and I hold up the snake like
yeah,
this,
you measured the shed, bitch.
I'm like, there's no way this bitch is much bigger than 6.5, 7 feet long.
Yeah,
but no,
I feel like people always say, like, I always hear about people's corn snakes. Well, it's 4 to 5 feet long. I was like, did you measure that? Because they can look big, kind of, but like, I don't think.
My kid has a melanistic corn snake that is way bigger than any male corn snake should ever fucking be.
Yeah.
And he will go from the end of a CB70 all the way to that corner around the edge. So he's a good 3.5, 4 feet.
Where is this? This male that I have is 14 years. Oh, that's a king snake. I told you before that, like, I know where all the snakes are. Now I look like a fucking idiot. There's a 14-year-old male, and he's fat. And it's like, this is like a 2.5 foot snake.
Yeah, he's a little bit longer than that, but not by a whole lot. So he might be 3.5.
But it's like long. Your corn snake should be swimming in a CB70. Like, there should be a lot of room in there.
Oh no, he lives quite happily in the CB70, and he has a lot of space. So
Evan was on the Instagram saying something, but who knows when that came up because I haven't looked at that in like forever. Sorry, everyone who listens live. Like, we're just talking randomly. But, you know, that's how it goes.
Evan was actually the one who introduced me to this podcast.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was the first one that we actually had over.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it viable to get a bunch of people to come over to my apartment? But
you probably want to meet them first and get to know them.
Well, I'm saying, like, there's, most of us are decent individuals, at least that I can lock the doors at the end of the day and say, like, I could probably stab him in the liver, if he comes back.
The only one that you've had over that I don't know if had you met Austin before?
Yeah, I met him at Carpet Fest. He has one bad leg, so I feel good in that fight. And then he was in the Navy and I'm in the Army, so he's gay and I'm straight. So I could. Sorry for all the gay people. You're very strong.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I could stab Austin. Let it be known.
Excellent.
No, I'm just kidding. There's no one. I mean, everyone who I've had over is like, I've met them before, and at least I feel that they're, like a decent enough friend to where I'm like,
to where you feel relatively safe.
To where that I've put snakes on Craigslist, and I'm like, I never want this person ever back at my house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck.
I sell
corn snakes. So.
I have sold items via Craigslist, and nobody has come over to my fucking house from Craigslist. So what the hell's it like selling snakes on Craigslist?
Well, I try not to, but sometimes it's like, if it's someone new and they want to know how to keep a corn snake, it's much easier for me to demonstrate how to keep it if they see everything. And like, they may get excited at like, some of the other snakes and be like, I didn't even know that existed. So that's always fun, but you never really know who you're going to get. And usually it attracts the wrong crowd. Craigslist in general, once you go to snakes, once you're at a low price point like corn snakes are, you attract a different kind of crowd. It's different with us who, if you're selling like a $400 snake at that price point, that person probably really likes snakes.
Yes.
So,
and I've talked to a few breeders who will randomly have guys who just come up and go, I want that one. That's $2,500. What are you going to do with it? I've been wanting that color forever, and I want that snake. And they have no intention of breeding it. It's going to be their pet. They're going to love it, but those guys are few and far between.
Yeah, if you find a weird one-off collector guy, I mean, it happens, but it is.
Eric Burke and I have talked quite a bit, and Eric talks about this a lot.
Can you do a story while I pee and I'll listen to you
through
the bathroom door? But like, be very talkative.
Absolutely.
Because it might be a long one. I had a few beers in between here.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to put down the microphone without.
Him and I have talked, and where we're missing on snakes as pets in general is selling to the pet only market, because inevitably every single animal that you sell becomes your competition because everybody wants to breed. And I don't know how you change the market or how you change marketing snakes or reptile pets in general to where they're similar to dogs. Like, you have one dog, you might have two, but you have no intention of breeding them, and you'll go out and spend $2,000 on a pet Rottweiler, but yet you won't spend $2,000 on a pet snake. Instead, you want it for the cheapest price possible so you can go home and produce more of them. Yeah,
I almost sell exclusively to the pet trade.
Corn snakes have transitioned to that.
Yeah, which it has its problems and it has good points to it. I mean, as far as you get obviously beginner people who don't know anything about snakes, and then like I had someone come over and ask what kind of crickets it took, and then I'm like, calcium dusted. No, I was like, dude, it eats pinkies. And he's like, what's a pinky? And then I'm like, you're gonna have to take off your pinkies. But like, dude, it eats mice. Like, what? You haven't gotten this far? Like, I thought you would get this far if you were into getting a snake, but then again, there's, a bunch of people who don't give you problems. And I mean, no matter what, that happens. But
inevitably, you are going to have all different kinds of people that sell, all the different kinds of people that buy. You're going to have people like me that will come up to you and go, how much is it? Okay, cool. Here's your money.
Yeah.
Give me the snake. Just out of curiosity, what's it eating? Just so I know what to buy. Okay, cool. Badass. And then you'll never fucking hear from me again.
Yeah.
And then you'll get the ones who sit there and they harp you with fucking questions
about like, you should have this general knowledge before you came to me. But I mean, and the people who are ready to learn, that is just as well. But I mean, there's some that are not as receptive, but you know, they want to tell you how they saw that someone kept their snake, and it's you know, I've proven successful, so just take it from me a little bit. Like, I mean, you can always work with people, but it can be tough sometimes.
It can be.
I sold a snake after 52 emails. That was like 3 weeks ago. And then I had to stay at a 7-Eleven and they didn't show up. And then they realized it was the wrong 7-Eleven they sent me to. So they sent me a new address for a new 7-Eleven. And I sat there for 20 minutes while I was harassed by a homeless man. And
that's because you live in Dallas.
That's because I had to go to a weird part of Dallas to meet them because they weren't not sketchy, because it was off of Craigslist. And that's, folks, why you don't, if you don't have to go on Craigslist, don't.
52 emails. After about 6, I'm like, dude, just call me.
Well, the thing is, she had to have her daughter do it because she didn't speak English well enough. So her daughter was emailing. It was all fucked up. It was terrible. But I mean, the daughter was like way into it. So it was like, that's cool, but this is a real pain in the ass. And then I would be like, so this is how you do this. And she's like, yeah, I know that. Well, it's like, I don't think you know that much, to be honest. You sent me 52 emails already. But whatever. That's,
you know what? Again, I've been keeping, it'd be easier for me to tell you the snakes that I haven't kept than the snakes that I have. And if I have an issue with the corn snake, I'm going to text you and be like, hey, motherfucker, what the hell's going on?
And if you have an issue with a corn snake, then you haven't kept any other snakes.
Exactly. The only issue I've ever had is that they really, 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 babies seem to really need to be assist fed. At least in my experience.
It's, I've found if you have, it's maybe like 5 to 10%.
I just apparently been really lucky and just gotten that 10% of the babies that,
or maybe I'm just working with real old school stock who are, it also depends. You'll see mutations that maybe started out in Southern Florida in the Keys and shit like that. And they'll want a nulls first. Cause obviously there's so many nulls in Florida. They're not starting out on anything but a nulls. They probably eat mostly a nulls their whole life. So you'll find more problems depending on when you have a snake that ranges from New Jersey to the Florida Keys. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like a jungle carpet and a Brisbane. They're the same, but different.
If you go by DNA, there's no difference. Shanae, however the hell you pronounce it.
I called it Shiny Eye when Austin was here. He was like, what? I was like, that sounds the coolest way I've heard it.
It's like I've heard various different.
It's made up.
Various different pronunciations of the genus of cobras, Naja. And I always pronounce it Naja because that's how I learned it. Yeah. Shinae is apparently not a valid subspecies if you're a DNA god. If you believe in DNA and believe that it is end all be all everything else, jungles and coastals are pretty much identical.
I know, that's hogwash in my realm because it's they're so different. And so this, I mean, they're carpets, but I mean,
it's, you can tell the head structure is a little bit different. At least the lines of coastals that I deal with are very different from that.
Really?
As far as head structure goes.
I mean, they definitely are just bigger in general.
Yeah. They tend to be bigger, and in my limited experience with jungles, the coastals seem to be a little bit tougher as far as temperatures go.
My jungles have always been good.
Yeah.
Which is weird. They're the most northern, so you would think you have to keep them hotter. but I've always kept them 85 and everything's been good. But I have no experience with any other subspecies or species or whatever the fuck you want to call your carpets. Like, so I don't have any reference.
Yeah. I've kept coastals, IJs, and jungles over the years. I don't have any jungles at the moment. And Andrew Paris, if you keep your shit up, I just might end up having a jungle. A lone male, which
if you're gonna have one, you're gonna end up with 3 fucking males. Because no one sells a good female. Everyone knows that. Every time I've bought an adult female, never works out.
I will.
Why would you get rid of one?
I will sell you my adult males all day long. If I have an adult female
especially one that always eats, never had a problem,
always breeds for me, has always produced good clutches of eggs, the price tag that you're going to pay for that snake, you're not going to want to pay for that.
Yeah.
There's not, no. And then you run into the issue with acclimating it to where you are. Because, all right, you have Bill Stiegel, Michael Pinnell, and me. All 3 of us keep carpet pythons. All 3 of us live within an hour of each other. And all 3 of us keep very differently. And all 3 of us have different factors that we use to induce breeding.
Yeah.
Michael says that temperature is more of a factor for him. And so he just feeds weekly and doesn't do anything. I found cycle feeding is more of a factor for mine, and temperature cycling does almost nothing for him. And Bill does a little bit of both.
I mean, at the end of the day, unless you're willing to strip down all the factors, if you want to do all of them, then that will probably work. If you want to do one of them, that may work. I mean, I've found that they're just...
I'm going to try my Brettles pythons the way that I try everything else. I'm going to take them down to about 75 degrees, which is about the coldest that my room gets, and see if it works. Probably won't, and I'll probably waste the first few years that I try to breed them, because they don't. That seems to be a really, really, really big thing with them. But there's a guy in Florida who bred Brettles pythons, keeping them at 83 degrees.
Yeah.
So
people have done the same with diamonds, and then the other people have tried fucking a million things to get diamonds.
And then there are people that with diamonds that put them in styrofoam boxes in their garage in Maryland.
Yeah, put some ice on those motherfuckers.
Where it gets 25 degrees outside. Yeah.
It's just, we're so far from knowing exactly what makes them tick. But I mean, I found that if you put diamond blood in my jungle, I've kept it like a jungle, and he's old as fuck, and everything's cool. So I know people
How old
say,
is your diamond jungle?
So he's either 2011 or 2012.
Okay.
So old enough to where, I don't know.
To me, that's not old as fuck.
No, it's not.
To me, that's like a guy in his 20s and 30s. It's like you're in the prime of your life at that point.
Yeah. No, he just doesn't. I think he's old as fuck because I have the idea of, like, if I get a female, I'm starting from scratch, and he's going to be old as fuck by the time that female gets up.
Especially the way you, judging by what I've seen as far as their size and everything else, you're looking at 4 to 5 years before you're breeding.
Yeah, like that female in quotations took 4 years to grow.
There's no way you're going to be breeding a female at 2.5 years with the way you
I don't
there's no
do
way
that.
For the record, there's no way I'm going to be breeding a female at 2.5 years. I have a female T-negative blood python that is 3 years old, and I don't even think she weighs 10 pounds yet. It'll be 2 more years before she's breeding size.
Yeah. I mean, it just slow growing. It's
What's
hard,
the hurry?
Yeah, especially if you're working with carpets. Jungles have been around. You're not going to make some new jungle all of a sudden. I mean,
the only thing that you're hoping for is black and yellow and a badass pattern.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not
going to happen in 3 years or 5 years, whatever.
I mean, my female caramel was breeding size at 2.5 years. Tried breeding her at 2.5 years, didn't work. Tried breeding her at 3.5 years, didn't work. Tried breeding her at 4.5 years, didn't work. Tried breeding her at 5, boom, it worked.
And maybe if you went slow,
I almost sold her.
Yeah.
I almost sold her.
And that's why you don't buy adult females. So it's like, if you would have just slow grown her, she would have went at 3 or 4, but you try to go fast and get her up quick. Yeah.
And she still ended up going at 4 or 5 years, somewhere in that area.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you're making more work for yourself and more of a detriment to your progress.
Again, she's 7 feet long and has a feed response that when you open up the tub, she's 3 feet out of her cage lunging at you. It's not pleasant.
But I mean, I always would rather have an asshole than someone who doesn't want to eat.
Very true.
I mean, that's really the worst thing for carpets, I feel like that's never the case.
No, they're almost all assholes and they all almost eat.
I mean, like, either way, they're going to eat. I feel like
it's just a matter of what they want to eat. Because you do run into periodic mousers. You do run into periodic dumbasses that want chicks for some stupid reason.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard it a lot in scrubs as far as, have you ever had scent with chicks? Or
I haven't had to scent with chicks. In order to get the one that Matt bought off me started on rats, I had to feed her the first 4 times on chicken.
Which is weird because it's like, what are they eating in the wild that's chicken-like?
No earthly idea. If she hadn't eaten chicken, I would have tried quail. That might have been closer. I don't know.
I'm not even sure what they're eating, though, in the wild, but
no earthly idea.
It's like, I don't think people realize that it will make me look stupid if someone's like, oh, you know about snakes. Like, what about scrub pythons? It's like, well, you have to go balls deep in some of these things just to know half of what you're talking about. Like, I can keep a jungle carpet, but I don't know much about the natural history and biology as I do some of my other snakes.
Well, it's a lot easier with like your hognose snakes that's a native to here.
Yeah.
It's like, I know the natural history of my bull snakes because they're native to here. I know the natural history of most of the Morelia that I keep because of that. Scrubs are no longer Morelia. They're Somalia. Some
Latin.
That starts with an
dead
S.
language. God damn it. Get out of here.
S, which I don't agree with. I think they should be lumped in with retics. I don't think they should be their own separate.
That's so weird. They're like the weird bridge between retics and carpets.
But no, I don't. I will 100% tell you I can keep a scrub python alive. And if you give me a wild caught one, I can get it acclimated. When it comes to breeding, I am literally throwing darts.
Yeah.
Is this gonna work? Fuck no. All right. Is this gonna work? Fuck no. All right. Let's try a combination. Let's do these 2 things. Shit.
And it's the thing is, you're waiting that 6 years for them to acclimate, and then you're waiting year after year to do these little tests. At the end of the day, you have an old scrub to where
you have an old irritable bitch of a female scrub that just looks at you at the end of the day and goes, I don't want this fucker in my cage anymore. Get him out.
Which is why, like, someone needs to really go laser focus on it and keep it going.
There are 2 on the East Coast that are doing it.
David Means
and Chris Foley are going pretty laser focused.
But I think David Means went hardcore and then he laid off and then is going hardcore again.
He's gone in the decade or so that I've been doing carpets. He's gone in and out of scrubs, I want to say 2 or 3 times.
Clearly, just you got to stick with it at that point, right?
Yeah. What they need is somebody who is willing to dedicate the time and the space.
Yeah.
And the time.
That's such another thing to where it's like sometimes Melissa's like, that snake's really cool. But it's like, you don't understand. In order for me to breed that snake, like, I should probably only have that snake or be able to dedicate much more time to it.
To breed scrubs, I probably should get rid of most of my collection.
I feel the same way even with green trees, which people breed a lot, but it's like the most successful people at green trees are the ones who are really just on green trees.
The only exception to that would be Bill.
Though. He has carpets and some balls, but like,
well, I would put him primarily. I think.
But if you're looking at Rico, Buddy Buscemi, everybody else
is just laser focused on green trees.
Yeah.
Or at the bare minimum, arboreal stuff, because most of the people that have green trees also
emeralds,
have emeralds, Amazons, and Kendoya boas, that type shit.
So weird how it all lumps together in a weird way. The same way, you know, carpet people like scrubs because they used to be Morelia and that kind of thing. Like, you find that some subsets of the hobby just keep the same kind of shit. It's really weird.
Back to Austin and his Pythons. Austin, I used to think Pythons would solve all the issues that people have with carpet pythons, because I've raised 4 of them. I've yet to successfully breed them, but I've raised 4 of them, and they've all been super sweet. They've all been super tame. They've all eaten like gangbusters until I got Austins. They're more like a typical carpet. They like to bite.
And he did mention that when we were talking to him, and it's like, I thought that they were the most calm of the
inlands are the most calm.
Inlands, and then also, yeah, is what I've heard. He has both. At this point,
those are beautiful, by the way. If you've never seen them,
it's
seeing them in person is different than seeing a picture of them.
It's like a lot of my decisions, Melissa's halfway into them. So it's like she doesn't quite grasp the inland thing. I'm like, that's blue. She's like, that's fucking gray. I'm like, you don't understand. For a snake, that's blue. And then she's like, all the lavender stuff. She's like, yo, that's not lavender. What is that? I'm like, it's the closest thing we have to blue.
Some of my Pinnell coastals have lavender in their sides.
They kind of look that bluish color sometimes, and they have that lightish tone to where
my wife is not into snakes at all. Doesn't like them. If you're usually lucky if she walks into the room. So the fact that yours actually comes into the room with you, that's amazing.
They're also corn snakes and not scrubs. So.
And the fact that I threatened to feed my Yorkie to the scrub python probably doesn't help matters.
That's probably a reasonable size meal. But I mean, fucking, I don't know why you don't see an inland and say that that's.
See, I'm actually pissed about caramels because Michael Pinnell at NARBC had an inland at his table. And I looked at that and said, that was fucking amazing. I want one of those. And he told me, I definitely fucked this up.
Yeah.
I heard caramel. So I was all like, all right, I want a fucking caramel coastal. That's what I want. I want a snake that looks like that. It's a caramel coastal. So I bought a caramel and I grew it up, and it doesn't fucking look like that.
That's like just an inland. It's just something that no one's fucking with enough at this point.
You see people in Oz are doing it because those are the Murray Darlings.
I mean,
yeah. But I mean, that's pretty much all that they can mess with. So
there's only so much they can do.
Yeah. It's the reason why you go, and if you're on any Morelia Facebook group, there's some Australian people on there, and they will post some crazy outlandish shit. And you're just sitting there looking at them going, where the hell did you find that? And they're like, oh, dude, this is in my backyard.
But the same with them is I see in the corn hobby is that some of the best corns are in the UK. And I'm like, holy fuck, like that scale, like line bred animals, because they take much more time with them. We tend to outbreed stuff, get wild caught stuff, and do a bunch of different shit. But the UK, they worked with what they had. They had 4 corn morphs and fucking drilled them until they were amazing, and then we're able to get scaleless over and then put scaleless into them. They're the best scaleless corns that you can get in the UK. I feel like in the US we have some of that. Our jungles, I don't see many jungles in Australia that can compete with our jungles, just because that's all we had and we were able to hammer that down.
With the fact that back when jungles first started, you had 50-50 diamond jungles. And
How dare you?
And
are you saying that they're all interbred?
And then at some point, what happened to the 50-50 diamond jungles?
They turned into pure jungles.
Exactly.
Duh, you idiot. What's wrong with you? They went from a golden black snake to a highlighter yellow golden black snake by fucking nature. How dare you suggest that they're interbred? Oh my God. All our snakes are pure. They're all straight from Australia.
And they all came straight from a little teeny tiny rock in Australia, where they were picked up and they were gently coddled, put in a bag, put in a crate, shipped over here via air freight, so that way
legally, God damn it.
Oh, and of course legally. Yes, legally.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that some people sell pure jungles is fucking horseshit.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I just look for the best jungle I can, and I'll take that as a jungle.
It all depends on what you're after. Like,
but that fucking Palmerston that you saw that Nick posted, I'm like, that's ugly, but that's my kind of ugly. Like that gold and black, I'll take that motherfucker. Like,
that is an absolutely gorgeous.
But that's only pretty to us.
Yes.
Like,
it's like
I've realized that
a normal person, you pull out the jungle, you pull out your highlighter jungle, and that's like, oh god, that's amazing. I want that. Then you pull out the Palmerston, and they're like, well, what the fuck is this?
What a
dirty.
piece of shit.
It's dirty. And you and I are looking at that going, that's not dirty. That's gorgeous.
Yeah. It's the same way as where a pure, just a green tree python, everyone's like, that's the most amazing thing. Then we're like, just wait a second. Look at this one that's filled with black specks. And then everyone's like, what?
What?
Like,
yeah.
What the fuck is that?
It's like
you wouldn't understand.
The ball python hobby.
Yeah.
If you take a normal person off the street, I can almost guarantee you that the 3 morphs that a normal non-snake person will love the most.
Albino, and albino.
Albino, pied, probably banana because it's close enough to an albino.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And none of those, just as the base morphs, are particularly expensive.
No. Or people care to breed. It's all byproduct. So it's like, at some point, we're just creating our own bullshit. I mean, that's really it. I mean, they're all just snakes in a tub, but.
And the most important part, and try to get this through to people on Facebook and it doesn't fucking work. You are dealing with snakes in a box. More importantly, they're your snakes in a box. If you want to take your carpet python and breed it to a ball python, by all means, do it. Post it up, be proud of it, enjoy it, enjoy the product, whatever.
I'll shit on you, but keep on doing it.
Be prepared if you decide to do that there are going to be people that are going to type in all caps
and I'm like, that's cool, but I
threaten to strangle you. But they're your snakes in a box. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
If setting them up, if keeping them in tubs and making them super easy to care for, and like,
it's just a cleanliness thing.
Like
for me.
If I deep clean 80% of my collection in about an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. My 8 4-foot cages take me like 8 hours to clean.
And you never get those corners.
No, and you never get them
filled
fully
with
clean.
8 years of shit. I mean, I learned that. I used to have that pine snake in like a 4-foot cage with a skink up above it, and it was like I try to get a pine snake shit out of there. You just never find it all. It's just so weird how a cage just becomes so much harder.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, just because I act like it's a fucking at the same time, it's not a doctor's office. Yeah. We're never gonna be sterile.
No.
But I try to be as clean as possible, which is silly because you're taking a bunch of snakes who live in dirt. But I mean,
not only that, but inevitably, the second you change their water bowl and the second you change their cage, they are going to shit all over them, especially if you keep colubrids. It's just going to happen.
It's just a weird thing where I feel like we get in our own way. I mean, you can do whatever. You can do a bunch of different things. They all work, but
I've learned a few different things the hard way over the years. The very first Borneo shorttail that I got, I micromanaged like a motherfucker, and it got an RI and it got all this shit and everything else. Do you know when it became normal and
when you went borderline animal neglect on it?
Basically, I said, fuck this. And I set it up in a tub and I put it in a corner and I damn near forgot about it.
Because that's what Ryan said. He's like, I took this thing out and it fucking gets a sniffle. Like any changes will fuck up a red blood from what I hear.
Yeah. They do not like change. Most of my 3-year-olds are handleable. I would not call them tame. They don't bite. They are handleable. You can reach into the cage. You can pick them up without getting bit, typically. Unless you do something stupid and reach into their cage smelling like a rat, in which case you deserve to be bit.
Yeah, like this is not an athlete. Look at it.
But all my young ones tend to be, I don't want to use the term aggressive because even my big scrub isn't what I would term aggressive. They are very defensive. They don't want to be messed with, and they are using the only option that they have to get you to leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah.
And that's basically all they do. And that's basically my blood pythons that are 2 years and younger. You open up the tub and they open mouth gape at you and they strike at you, and you look at them and you're like, all I want to do is give you water and clean your cage.
Trying to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's how I'm not sure if you can tame an animal, but
corn snakes you can. I'm pretty sure corn snakes are pretty tame at this point in their.
And plus, the more you handle them, the cooler they seem. But I mean, for me, like, you picked up all the snakes that I never pick up today.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't bite you, but it's like I just don't pick them up because they do the universal sign for not pick me up, meaning like rattling their tail and hiss at you. Then I'm like, all right, bro, I see what you want, and I'll give it to you because like whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I don't need any affection towards these guys.
I kept venomous for years. And because of that,
and you handled them freely a lot.
Oh, absolutely!
I kissed them on the head.
I Steve Irwin them.
It means you screamed and ran around with it, and you had them by the tail.
Look at this one, mate! Look at this one. And because of that, I don't handle snakes. Like my idea of a tame snake is a snake that I can go in, pick it up, put it in a container, clean its cage, pick it up again, and put it back in its cage.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And not get bit. That's my idea of that's my idea of a tame snake.
Yeah.
My idea of a tame snake is not taking it out, putting it in my lap, and going and watching fucking TV with it.
Yeah. Your snake doesn't give a shit about The Walking Dead.
No.
Hey, what's up? You're like this has been you're not here, so you can't really keep us on subject on things, but
this has been interesting.
Okay.
We're just talking about a bunch of different things. Okay. Well, we're still going if you want to allow us to keep on going, unless you want to. Okay. We're just going to keep on going with this podcast thing. We were talking. No, all the beers are here. We just drank most of them. Or I guess I drank most of them.
Yeah, I'm nursing a hangover today, so I'm kind of taking it easy.
But he acted like he was the lamest guest, but he doesn't know that Evan drank all Dr. Pepper.
Oh, God.
He just drank like 5 cups of Dr. Pepper. He was just hopped up on Mountain Dew on the podcast. But oh, there you go. We didn't start over Instagram. I don't give a fuck. What were you talking about?
I have no earthly idea.
So snakes, huh?
Uh-huh. I know that there was blood python talk. I know there was scrub talk. I know.
So it's like, I don't handle my snakes.
No,
I don't. I rarely put top hats on them.
No. Definitely don't.
They
put top
tend to
hats
like
on.
that.
This weekend.
Was it a Mexican hog nose? Because that's funny.
No, I showed it to you. I don't remember. But yeah, very interesting.
How dare them?
My wife went through and put a lion's mane on one of my carpets.
See, that's where it starts. And
Yes.
then full tuxedo and everything, you know?
And I was like, no, they're pop tops. And I was like,
I just did a weird judo move. So.
It's a testament. It's a testament to how well tempered they can be.
If you can mess around enough with a carpet python's head and put a lion mane on it, I would say that's basically.
I'll see if I can find the
dog.
picture and post it to your Facebook page and
write blasphemy across the top.
But no, it's a testament to how tame they can be if you actually take the time to work with them.
Yeah,
because that particular animal was back when I only had 2 and I actually held them.
And I think it's really comes to the fact is we're learning to work with them, not them learning to work with us. I think I think it's more of a. I wouldn't go so far as it's more us learning to work with them. I think it's more of a mutual thing. I think they need to figure out that we're not going to eat them. That's true.
And then once they figure out that we're not going to eat them, they're pretty cool. And then as you learn your animal, you learn how to pick them up and how to move around them to where you don't startle them, where you don't piss them off.
And then there's just those animals that don't respond to either of those things.
My scrub. Yes.
It's just
Actually,
like-
no. I've got a buddy in the UK, and he sent me over directions on how to handle them, on how he handles his scrubs, because he has a large collection of scrubs.
Use hook, put in tub,
He
close
is a
tub.
bastard. His first ever clutch of eggs and his first ever hatchlings, pythons,
Were scrubs?
Was oxable scrubs. Oxables.
There are those people though.
Yes. But he sent me over directions, and I used them on my girl, and I got her out. I got her some good exercise, got her handled, and I didn't bleed. So it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're willing to put that in your hands all the time, then
I'm not. She's in a trap box for a reason.
yeah. I mean, for me, I just don't care to have handleable animals. It just doesn't matter to me
doesn't-
one way or another.
My wife said, "Why do?" Okay, I have spotted pythons. I clean them last because their feed response is insane, and I will end up with a non-usable hand because they're trying to eat my hand. Like they will full wrap my hand. So I clean their cage last, and I let them sit there. And she goes, "Well, why don't you try taking them off?" And I'm like, "He'll figure out I'm not food in a minute." 10 minutes later, he figures out I'm not food. He lets go and he goes crawls off.
But luckily enough, it's a snake that's that size that
Yes.
you're able to do that.
It is not a 7-foot carpet python.
It's a mixture between you're willing to work with it because it won't do cause any harm to you.
Yes. My big female carpet gets hooked.
Yeah.
And if she even looks the least bit sketchy, my hands don't go anywhere near her. It's all hook. You just gently hook her. Sorry. You gently hook her, and
We're real mature over
We
here.
are very
Yeah.
mature.
We couldn't even pick it past hooker.
you use the hook and you put her. I have a big trash can that I use for a holding bin for my adults for while I clean their cage. And you basically take her, use the hook, get her in the trash can. Don't ever touch her. Clean out the cage. Use the hook, get her back into her cage. That's if she's being sketchy. If she's not being sketchy, my hands touch her.
Yeah.
But
I mean, for me, it's like I'll hold you if you're cooperating at the moment, and it makes me easy to clean them. Otherwise, I'll put them in another tub, put them in a if I had a garbage can like that.
My Force line Brettles python is probably the closest thing that I have to a snake that I would actually sit down and watch like TV shows with.
I do that with my Olive, sort of. I take her out. Like you were like, that was the one snake where you were like, I've seen this bite a lot of people, and I'm like, that's the one that hasn't bit me. And you picked up all the other fucking psychos. Like, why do you even like? That's the one.
My Wilma will do the strangest shit. He'll be holding him, and he'll be doing fine, and he'll just come up and he'll go, and then wrap your hand.
Yeah,
Spotteds do the same thing too.
Liasis do that too, but it's just my Olive ended up being a good apple instead of it used to. And the fact is that like people are like, whatever, you get bit, but like you don't understand. You'll have an olive python on you for like 15 minutes. Like it's not easy to get off. Like the one time I had her wrapped around me, it took me a long time, and she didn't S back and strike. She just opened her mouth and decided to latch down. And
my feed response bite from an adult carpet lasted 15 to 20 minutes. Lasted 15 to 20 minutes and ended with me screaming bloody murder.
What did you try to get it off?
I didn't try anything.
Oh, okay. Just held it till it was ready to let go?
My wife heard me go, "Ow, you fucking asshole." And then she comes in and she goes, "What?" And I go,
This is on my hand.
And
it's hanging.
It's a 7-foot coastal that's like that big around.
Jesus. Okay.
She was like, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Well, he'll figure out I'm not food eventually." And she goes, "What happens if he doesn't?" And I'm like, "Well, then we'll come to that when we..."
No, your immediate thought should be, how do I get this off of me?
He bit me in such a way that it wasn't causing me immediate harm.
Okay.
The worst bite I've ever gotten. Yeah, the worst bite I've ever gotten was from an adult Borneo short-tailed python. And the way that she bit, both of my feed response bites have started with a
Right
bite
there.
right here.
Okay.
And the way
Which
that
is
she
the webbing of your finger.
yeah, and it hurts
Very
like a
sensitive
motherfucker.
spot.
And the way that she wrapped, she took these two fingers and bent them all the way back here.
Jesus.
So I broke this finger,
She broke your finger
Uh-huh.
just
We
with
can
wrapping.
skip that. That's ridiculous.
dislocated both of them.
Holy fuck, that's awesome.
Wait, are
And-
you about to get a short tail?
I would like one.
Or no,
And-
we're getting to Matt.
Matt would be short tails.
It's the reason why this finger perfectly matches that one, because I went to the doctor and he did the reduction on both fingers, and he said, "Oh yeah, this one's broke." And he took a tongue depressor, stuck it to it, and taped it, and said, "Have a nice day."
That's Texas healthcare.
Uh-huh.
Evan asked, "How's the item?
Who's Evan?
How's the item you got from me?"
He's good. He's in with a 20-year-old female right now. I'm trying to get her to go this year.
And he said
Mature.
that Antaresia you got from me is a finger hunter.
Oh yes.
From what it seems like, they all are.
Mhm.
And dude, I wanted to pull the trigger so bad on an anthill python. I saw him at a show once.
Oh.
It's like, you beautiful
You-
little guy.
Oh, wait a minute. You deal with corn snakes. You would be used to babies that size. One of the reasons.
But then
why,
again, like, they're a little bit harder to get started.
one of the reasons why I went with spotted pythons is they
A little
tend
bit
to
bigger.
eat. They tend to eat mice right off the bat.
But I think that's maybe just because we've bred them more
Possibly.
generations in captivity. But
Back to the Barkers. I had a conversation with Dave Barker, and this is what he said with spotted pythons. He said, "Dave, if I'm misquoting you,
he definitely listens to this
Yeah.
podcast every day. He's like, wait, let's take a
if you happen to stumble across this and I misquote you, I'm very, very sorry. But I swear to God, this is what he said. He said, you get them out of the egg and you stick a pinky in front of their face. So ones that eat the pinky right away, you keep those back for your breeder stock. The ones that don't, you kill."
See, that's what I was talking about those old school savages.
I would not. I would at least attempt to get them eating. If they don't eat, I have animals that eat snakes.
See,
specifically
those-
for that reason.
But I'm sorry, you're not even giving them two chances. Come on, we're in the
Those
world.
are those old school savages who are just like, it's fucking livestock, eat or be eaten, it's fucking donezo. That's why I respect that and disagree with it, but agree with it all at the same time. Because it's like my corn snakes, it's like, if I understand, if I had 1,000 of you, maybe I would just give you to a king snake.
Mhm.
That'd be a lot easier and just repurpose you as food. But I want to try.
I have
It's
a-
weird thing.
I have a buddy, and me and him talk about culling quite a bit, and he has the same opinion on culling that I do.
By the way, no one talks about this.
no, it doesn't. No,
because
they don't.
snakes never die.
But he has the same opinion that I do, and it's like, I don't know if it, because he's in his mid 40s, and I said, I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's because I'm in my late 30s and I've just,
You guys are over the hill.
yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I also produce 2 to 3 clutches a year, so 30 to 90 babies, depending upon the size of the clutch. He
Which
produces
is very manageable amount.
yeah, he produces over 200 babies, and it's like, listen, if you don't want to eat, that's fine. I have something that will eat you
Yeah.
if you don't want to eat.
Yeah. That's the thing. At some point, it's like, I can either feed my king snake rodents or we can go the corn snake route, you
Mhm.
know? And either way, it's like, maybe that wasn't a viable baby at the.
I had a point in my life where I was importing large amounts of like venomous stuff, and I imported a couple of I don't know what they're called in the viper world, as far as if they're called clutches or whatever they're called when they give live birth.
Babies that
Babies.
came out.
Yeah, but
A clutch.
I ended up importing a couple clutches of gaboon vipers, and they were all set up the same, and they were all eating. They were all fine, and then 70% of them, or no, not 70%, like 30 or 40% of them died. Just
Yeah.
died. So some of them are supposed to be eaten by birds.
There's a certain percentage that are just not going to make it in the wild. That's why we have so many babies,
Mhm.
especially if you have things like corn snakes in the wild that have multiple clutches. They can have 2 clutches a year.
I've heard 3.
I've never seen one triple clutch, but
I can't remember which colubrid it was, but I know somebody
they must
triple-
be feeding that thing fucking germs.
No shit.
I don't know what they're feeding that fucking thing.
I'll
But
go
I
with-
mean, two is a stretch because usually the second clutch is not viable. In the wild, I can imagine they rarely double clutch.
it
But
took me a long time to get it took me a while to get my female bull snake back up to weight before I would even think about double clutching her.
all my problems would happen. Well, they usually double clutch whether you like it or not once they get to a certain point, and all your problems happen on the double clutch. That's not viable. It's like, oh, this is the twisted oviduct with a fucking all the non-viable legs.
There was somebody on Facebook that was talking about what do you do with eggs that go bad and everything, or eggs that look like they're going bad or everything else. And I said to incubate it. I will also tell you that what comes out of there will probably be, whatever issues you could possibly have with the baby will probably come from that one.
That little boob egg will never eat.
Yeah.
Quick question. Someone asked, what's a better morph? I'm assuming they're saying coastal Mojave, or spider.
I don't know what they're talking about.
They put COS Mojave?
Cuz Mojave.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know, man.
Dude, as far as the question about
like
what morph is better, the COS Mojave, the Mojave, or spider, it is 100% up to you. Whatever you like, go for it. If you look at a Mojave and go, that is a badass snake, buy it. If you look at the spider and you say that's a badass snake, badass.
dude, if someone in the ball python world was like, I fucking love cinnamons and decided to make them black, just the regular cinnamons, and line breed them, they would probably be able to sell them for $200 instead of the $50 that they fetch now. I mean, if there's something that you like in ball pythons, go for it and line breed it, and you may work out. It may work out.
There was a guy at the Repticon in Pasadena, and he only did one show, and I ended up getting his card because he had, if I ever decided to do pastel ball pythons, I wanted to buy one of his pastels.
And there's so many shit ones out there.
He had absolutely gorgeous single gene, like not even like super pastels, just single gene pastels, and they were absolutely stunning. He had spent some time, picked out the right animals, and bred them.
Which no one has done.
No one does, because all they want is gene A and gene B.
They want 5 genes in this motherfucker. But I mean, if you're looking at jungle carpets and saying there's a big difference between just ones that people willy-nilly breed than ones that line breed, then think about pastel ball pythons. They can become just as black and yellow as jungle carpets.
Ryan's, you could go to any flipper and pick out a jungle carpet. Okay. And
that's that movie with the dolphin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The uninitiated will look at that and then go to like Headhunter's website and look at I'm going to use
Why
Headhunter.
is yours so expensive?
And go to Headhunters and go, there's no difference between my jungle and your jungle. And then you and I will look at that and go, yes, there is a fucking difference.
The people who care, motherfucker. Yes. So let the market speak. No one will buy your shit. That's the whole thing. Like at the end of the day, your snakes don't sell because beginning to do the work to get your best quality animal. I mean, I bred my carpets together. I'm not selling them for $400 like Andrew Parrish does his. I'm selling them for $250 because I know they're not as good. They may be pet quality. They're gonna look fucking great, but they're not Headhunter. They're not Andrew Parrish because I didn't do that. I didn't put in the work.
Done the work yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is my first generation. No one knows who I am. I don't even have the audacity or the balls to say this is a $400 carpet.
I produce normal coastals that I will gladly and happily sell for $90.
Which may come even from Michael Pinnell, but you're like
that I will gladly and happily sell for $90. Then I produce normal coastals that I look at that and I go, no, that's like a $300 animal. No. And if you want to pay $300 for it, you can have it. Otherwise, it will stay here.
But usually that's your mental, like, I'm going to keep this, but you're like, this is just going to be expensive.
Yes. Those are typically my holdbacks that are priced like that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's probably worth that, but there's going to just be so much variation in every single clutch that is, especially in carpets, there seems to be a lot.
Like, Michael's going to pick out something completely different than what you would pick out than what I would be looking for.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Total side note, but from what it seems, y'all haven't stayed on topic.
We had a topic?
Dave, I don't know if you've listened to some of our previous podcasts, but we have some dedicated viewers whose favorite thing to do is to compare our guest to someone in
Jesus
the
Christ.
entertainment world. So yours is actually way better than some previous ones. Joe is named Shrek, but after he turns into a human.
I can see that. Actually,
we had to Google it. Like I didn't even remember what
you
Shrek
never
was.
watched. Oh,
But we didn't remember after. But,
dude, I watch cartoons. I love cartoons.
but we didn't remember after the human part. Evan is named Ice Cube, which
I was going to say if he was Ice Cube, I could almost see that. If he was Ice T, there was no fucking way.
no way. But Ice Cube. Ryan Sullivan is Shrek's donkey.
That I don't see at all. He's a fucking hobbit.
Yeah. Austin, the Ragebeard Reptiles is Ragnar.
Oh yes, I
Ragnar?
100% agree with that, and that is badass.
Beautiful man. I Googled it. I'm like, that's a beautiful man.
Ragnar-
Austin, beautiful.
Ragnar Lothbrok is a fucking savage and a badass.
So you are said to be. Wait, let me make sure I get it correctly. No, it's really nice. Shoot. Dave looks kind of like an older version of Leonardo DiCaprio.
I'll take that.
I think that's a great compliment. That
I'll-
is very.
I'll take that. I'll take an
They're
older
like, you
version of
kind
Leonardo.
of look like the most beautiful man in the world, just a little bit older. You're like, yeah, I think I'll take that.
I'll tell my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been Ice Cube and what.
Oh god. He is a little fuck the police, Evan.
Oh
He
yes.
Let's not get into that.
That makes sense. But what the
Sorry.
it's the whole thing. How dare you throw a wrench into this whole conversation that was very directed in one
I
direction.
know.
Was it a wrench?
It's like, have we talked about the same thing 10 times or 10 things one time? I don't know.
Lily Pad says, "Draw me like one of your French girls."
You don't want me to draw. You do not want me to draw you at all. It will end up being a stick figure.
I just wish it was a coastal carpet. You just drew it and you're like, I imagined you as beautiful as you ever could be. And it's a carpet.
Do you think carpets are the most beautiful snake you've ever seen?
No,
No.
What's the most beautiful snake?
it would be really torn between a banded Egyptian cobra,
Very
And-
specific.
very specific, or T-neg albino blood.
Wait, what?
What was that English? T-neg?
So you have two different types of albino blood pythons. You have the T positive, which is the caramel albino. They tend to be a little bit of yellow and purple. And then
Okay.
you have
Tyrosine.
Yes.
Which I don't know what tyrosine
That
no
sounds
fucking
like-
earthly
But if you
idea. I
say
didn't
it
even know how to
correctly, it
pronounce
makes you sound smart.
Yes, I
That's
didn't
it.
even know how to pronounce it, so you did better than I did.
Tyrosine. Okay.
And the T-negs is yellow, but pretty much nothing but red and white, and
Okay.
they are absolutely stunning.
T-neg albino blood python.
Mhm.
Okay. Or what was it? I already lost the first one.
Egyptian cobra.
Egyptian cobra.
Naja and Alafura.
So Tyrannosaurus Rex positive, blood python.
Negative.
Oh,
Get it right.
sorry. Oh, sorry. But like, fuck was that, dude? I made a
said
thought.
most beautiful snake.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for like the second grade questions, Melissa is there for you. Like,
Awesome.
what's the most prettiest snake you know of?
That's not how I said it.
Okay, so what'd you keep as far as I know? You said gaboon vipers, but I mean, what'd you keep
I
as
had
far as
cobras. I had most of the vipers that I kept were basically.
So you just like elapids?
Yeah. I like elapids. I like fast, skinny.
What fucks me up is those weird Australian colubrid looking.
Oh, even the colubrids in Australia will fuck your world up.
It's like that is like a corn snake, but it's a Colette's fucking. It will kill me 10 times over snake.
It's a rear.
Like, what is going on?
You look at it and you go, that looks like a corn snake. That's so sweet. And then you find out that it's a rear fanged, and unlike it's like a boom slang where the rear fang will actually fuck you up, not like your hognose where.
I think it's just so silly being like, all right, let's take someone, tell them, look for a triangular head on the venomous reptile, and then go over to Australia and fucking the only things that will kill you are things that don't have a triangular head. you're like, that carpet python's definitely venomous, but that Colette snake or that brown snake,
or the red belly. Well,
it
no,
sure
actually,
is,
the red belly black apparently don't bite. So
I've heard so many stories of Australians just saying fuck it and just handling everything, which
They have everything. If you have everything,
but I mean like venomous.
I will tell you from experience, if you are going to free handle anything, free handling elapids is probably the easiest thing to do. They tend to be very predictable. They tend to.
You heard it here. Free handle all your elapids.
If you're going to do that, if you're going to pull an Australian, elapids are the way to do it. There's a reason why they learned how to do it the way that they do it, because it's easier to work. They're very predictable and they're easier to work with. Like, try doing that shit with the Western Diamondback. It's
if you have pines, you know how they act. You know their defensive posture. You know everything, so that makes sense. I mean, I don't want to call anyone out, but it rhymes with Viper Fleeper. But you see that he got bit in between his toes by his king cobra.
That's because he's a dumbass and lets it run around on the.
And then calls it cute names and shit.
Yeah.
But it's like he got bit right in between his toes and there was a wet spot. So it wasn't a dry bite. It was a wet spot in between his fat toe.
Oh,
I didn't even know he could walk, but he got it right in between his fat little fucking toes. If there's any space left, I just poured beer on myself. We're not that drunk. We're not
that drunk.
Evan asked, Date, have you ever had dark frogs?
No.
Simple.
No.
I tried to recoup the beer that fell down my leg and scoop it up and then sip it like a little kitten. But
no, never had dart frogs. Never really had an interest in dart frogs. He's a hypocrite fucktard.
The guy y'all are talking about.
Oh, okay.
So if it's really bad when your comment comes across YouTube and it's blocked and you have to allow it.
Yeah, I think one time someone used something inappropriate and I blocked them. Since that, YouTube has made us like
a hard N word is what really happened.
Any curse
Fudged
words,
up.
basically, we have to approve the comment. What they don't know his name rhymes with what?
He's on YouTube. If you Google fucking venomous cuties, you'll find him or whatever you want. I don't know. Just
Google keeping king cobras and he'll pop up.
Google Viper Keeper and it'll come up.
That one
works. Yeah. Google person who goes around in a motorized wheelchair at reptile shows and he'll come up. That's fine. No, he's just really fat.
Yeah.
It's not that he can't walk. He's just lazy.
I was going to say, all of his videos, he's walking around.
He's
fine.
not very elusive. That's why he keeps mostly smaller things. He's not very elusive.
I didn't know that.
I'm kidding.
I didn't know that he got bit. That was news. That was interesting.
Yeah, man. He got bit in between his toes. And then the thing is, it's hard because I feel where he's coming from. He's like, I showed that to show what can happen. And then people got all over him on it.
Well, okay, keeping venomous reptiles
is different.
It's like riding sport bikes. Okay, so keeping reptiles is like riding Harleys. I know people that have ridden Harleys for 30 years and have never wrecked, never had any issue. You ride a sport bike, it's not a question of if you're going down, it's a matter of when. You keep venomous reptiles, it's not a question of if you're going to get bit, it's a matter of when you get bit and how bad is that bite going to fuck you over.
And I don't know anyone who's kept him for a certain amount of time that hasn't had a bite, whether it's dry or
a close call
or a broken chair. You know?
That's fucking awesome. Hey, now we're the same height.
Yeah. I'm offended. I'm Shrek, goddammit. if anyone's listening on the download, Dave just broke our chair. And now he's basically sitting on the floor, Indian style. But I mean, it really is a matter of like, it's venomous reptiles.
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought I'd get bit by my jungle carpet, but it happens sometimes.
I got a dry bite by a blackneck spitting cobra. Bit me in the stomach and it was dry.
That
scared the fuck out of me.
Bit in the stomach.
9 times out of 10, when I went to work with this animal, you opened up his cage, you lifted up his hide box, and he shoots straight over this way.
Okay.
One fucking goddamn time, he shot straight out of the fucking cage and hit me in the stomach.
Like mouth open, ready to go.
And what I think happened is he bumped my stomach and then bit out a reflex. And because it was a reflex bite, that's why it was dry. I put him back in his cage, went over to my brother because I had a rule that I never handled any of my shit when there was nobody else home.
That's very smart.
Yes. So that way you don't come home and find me on the floor going to, but
Or
yeah.
just
Yeah.
nothing.
Especially a neurotoxic bite, you
Yeah.
would be a slug before anyone even
really-
got to you.
They don't really have that much of a neurotoxic component. It's more
Hemo?
necrotic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which is weird for a
Because
cobra.
well, no, they use theirs more for defensive. They spit at it, so it's made to.
So you'll burn your eyes out.
Mhm.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's really nice of them.
So I went over to my brother and I go, I just got bit, and he goes, "What do we do?" And I'm like, I have no earthly.
I mean,
idea.
I'm going to be here, but whether I'm responsive when you get here is really the question. I'm not going to drive a motor vehicle right
Mhm.
now. But if you die, it won't be that painful.
Possibly.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't died by Egyptian cobra yet.
No, don't want
But
to.
I mean, if you want to take a good neurotoxic big king cobra bite, that might be all right.
Have you ever read anything Greg Fry's written on the subject?
No, but I heard he's bled from pretty much every orifice of his body.
He says a king cobra bite is like taking acid.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I want to die. That's what I
So
was
if you're
saying.
going to die by a venomous snake bite, getting bit and going on an acid trip is probably one of the best ways to do it.
I do that voluntarily. So
Exactly.
I will do that whenever. But it's like, I mean, the thing is losing all your motor functions and fucking visuals. What just happened on the
They
chat?
said he's Leo. He can afford a new chair. And then
Oh, God.
Lily said he can afford like more than your life. And someone said
This-
he can afford more than our lives combined. Just talking about your wealth.
This
Oh,
ship
okay.
hit the ice cube.
I was actually laughing at Evan's comment. If I had known it was going to be this long, I would have just shown up.
Yeah, this ship hit the ice cube long ago and
Yes,
is
it
now
did.
sinking. Yeah, ice cube. Like Evan, you get it? That was a fucking.
I did get it up.
It was like a punish, if that makes sense.
Evan says he has to finish a dart frog build. He's building a dart frog something for Carpet Fest.
Well, this is the second part of the show where we start talking about dart frogs
Ah,
But do you
because
think there's-
no one knows anything about dart frogs.
I know that if you get wild caught ones, they are poisonous. If you, as soon as they are in
Are
captivity,
not eating whatever,
as soon as they're in captivity for longer than a couple months, they are no longer poisonous.
and that's science.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys. Evans kept him alive for 5 days, so he's basically an expert. So
He's
we'll
more
have
of
to
an
have him on. He's
more
better
of an
than either of
expert
us.
than- Yeah.
The blue ones are called Azurius, I think.
There's one that's like a reticulated one that's like blue and black. That one's
They're
pretty-
longer than the others
Mhm.
and eat bats.
Yes.
What the fuck are we talking about? We
Okay,
ask a stupid question.
in the chat. We're talking about what we're having for dinner.
Oh, God.
I know I'm gonna say that real soon.
Have we lost? You're not even here the whole time. You probably already ate dinner.
No, I was hungry on the way home. I was like, I know if I eat, then so I didn't eat. I was nice.
I have to ask, how old was the baby you went to go play with?
1.5.
1.5. My wife is currently going and visiting one of her friends, and they have a 5-day-old baby. She's going to come home
Jesus
with baby fucking
Christ.
baby fever.
I was babysitting Did he tell you? Did you explain? I was babysitting because
He
the
might
mom.
have, but
We
yeah.
don't talk about babies that much before the
I
show.
was babysitting because the mom was in labor with the new baby.
Ah,
So she just had a new baby girl. Now there's 2.
That's kind of like someone comes over, like, I just got this clutch. I'm like, I got to bring home one of those babies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whoa, this got weird. Sorry. Evan was talking about my meat ain't lean. And
I don't even know what that doesn't pertain to anything we're talking
I don't
about.
know what they're talking about.
See, we weren't reading the chat until you came, and then it got weird, you
Yeah,
know?
they said you were ignoring them. They were very sad.
Well, no, we just have limited attention span.
We were doing well enough to keep on the subject of snakes.
Yeah, we pretty much stayed with snakes.
Walking Dead.
That was a moment of weakness.
Yes.
But that was pretty much it.
Sure. Okay, but you are at where's the time?
You don't know. Don't fucking worry about it. You're such a
Timekeeper, yes.
This went by really quick.
timekeeper. We're just, we're doing our own thing. How many beers have you drank?
2.
All right.
Joe's way
I'm no. I'm
purposely.
purposely 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm hungover. Number 2, I really would like to drive home.
No, that's definitely. If not, you have a convertible, so the wind hits you in the face, which
Exactly.
makes you sober. That's science.
Exactly.
But I was like, I feel a little weird. I don't know what's going on. So maybe I drank
that's a-
all the beers.
That's the GHB I put in your last beer.
Yes. You should have told me before. Oh, Lily Pad has an allowed comment.
Oh, Lily Pad is on my side because you were about to say a mean word to me, and I came in with timekeeper.
I've never said a mean word.
Oh, you've never said a mean word to me?
So how about them carpet pythons? So what do you feed those things anyway? How many crickets?
I feed them 3 crickets a meal.
Yeah. Every few weeks, right?
About once to twice a year.
Okay.
Where do you get crickets from?
Petco, of course.
That's expensive, isn't it?
But it's only 3.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Like 3 is like, what are they, like $3 each?
Something like that.
Okay, cool.
What are you talking
about? I'm trying to cue you into we're being fucking sarcastic. Oh, she's an expert. I mean, that's a thing. If you're listening to this podcast for knowledge, you're in the wrong motherfucking place. Yeah, but like we're also. It's also I don't know.
No.
I'm not,
What? You don't think you give knowledge? Look at all these. Well, these are my books mainly. You read so many books. You have the knowledge, and people ask questions, and you give answers and knowledge. What are you talking about?
I forget like what I think about pretty much every minute. Like if I read, I forget the last 2 pages. I'll remember like 1 out of 3 pages.
You
of what I
will
read.
If we're just sitting around bullshitting and you get pissed off at a comment that you made, you're going to have to tell me what the comment was because I will have no clue what the fuck came out of my mouth. It's like, dude, you just said something offensive. What did I say? I have no idea.
No, everything that's on the brain comes out and then gets disposed immediately.
I heard the best description of ADD ever. Well, basically the way, like, I'm going to assume you're stereotypically normal. You don't have ADD.
Normal.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So the way your mind works is that you have a receptionist in there. The receptionist sits there and goes, okay, this is important. This is not important. This is important. Da 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 da. Yeah, we don't have that.
I have a receptionist. It's her.
I know my wife.
That's
He doesn't have that, so he just chooses to make everything non-important. Just every word out of my mouth is pretty much not important to him.
That's true. Always.
You practice
times.
planned ignoring.
Yeah, that's called. Yeah, that was my ADHD.
Okay. Back to
I was listening.
Dave, what are your top snake books to give knowledge? If this podcast doesn't give knowledge, what do you think are some good snake books out there that give great knowledge?
What she's asking is, can you read and how many books have you read?
I would probably do anything in the complete series.
Yeah,
They
have
have
a complete sabak. That's
Yeah, they have.
I wish I had that one.
They have a complete. They have a lot of snake. They have a lot of species. They have a lot. They have a lot of species covered in the complete series.
You want to ride bikes?
So, like the complete boa constrictor, the complete ball python. My favorite, probably my top book is probably the complete carpet python. It's at this stage, I bought it more to just have because I have enough practical experience with the animals to where
but it's that deep natural history point of view. It's much deeper than I care to go.
I bought that primarily because I wanted to read what the DNA evidence showed. Like they decided the divergent point for a full species status was 5%, which is fucked up in reptiles. Because
so we're chimps.
Exactly. So because we're us and chimps share what 97% of our DNA.
Yeah.
So and we're not even in the same genus. We might be in the same family. I'd have to look. I don't know. But no, they decided the divergent point was 5%. So inlands are Morelia, Spilota.
Harrisoni?
No, that's IJ.
Fuck. That's the one that I got. Oh.
Fuck, I can't remember what the scientific name for
We're gonna need to read this book again.
Yeah. But they're Spilota because there was only 4.5% divergent instead of 5%. Like I'm
which Breadlie is probably almost
no
close.
No, Breadlie was like 6 or 7% divergent. They are,
but I'm saying you're talking about 1 or 2%. You're not talking about an insane amount.
No, you're not talking like a ball python, which would be like 20% divergent from a carpet python. You're talking like 2-3% tops.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm pretty fucking close. But I mean, that book really gives you so deep on it. Takes all those papers that you don't have the attention span to read and kind of makes it more.
Talking with Nick is especially if he likes you and will talk your ear off on the phone. Like my average phone conversation with him is over an hour. He is
Talking about Nick Mutton.
Yes,
of course.
He
said the same thing.
he is an
He will
amazing.
talk your ear off. He knows everything.
He is an amazing wealth.
But every Morelia guy has a crush on him. Clearly,
I deemed him the godfather of snakes.
he's like the modern godfather. Before you had the Barkers and Eugene Bassett and all that.
I can't remember his name. The Matt that came over and bought the scrub. He's from the northeast or northwest. I want to say Matt Morris. He's a
Matt Morris is here in Texas.
No, he moved here, but he's from the northwest. Yes, he bought a scrub from me, and me and him were talking, and he treated Pinnell like we treat Nick
because he's like a foreign object.
Yeah, because he was up there with Nick, and he was able to like see him at shows, everything else, kind of like I am with Michael. I mean, if I have an issue with my carpet python, Mike's the one that I call and talk to.
You can't go wrong with either of them, really.
No, if I have an issue with the carpet, if Michael doesn't know the answer, Nick doesn't know. Nick should know the answer. If Nick doesn't know the answer, the carpet's dead.
Then no one. Then there's really no one who knows any better. I mean, that's why I always preach that it's so important to get from a breeder that you trust and a breeder that's been doing this for a long time and like not, someone who may have a bunch of different things.
You can buy from somebody like Michael Pinnell or Nick Mutton who produces. Nick produces 400 or 500 carpet.
But we're also talking about 20 years of experience before that.
400 or 500 carpet clutches. That's on top of everything else.
Keep going.
Or you can buy from Mike, who produces probably 10 to 15 clutches of carpets a year, or you can buy from somebody like me who produces 2 or 3, or somebody like you who
I was about to say
yes.
I was about to say, so since you produce carpets, how do you feel about loaning us a female?
I would be totally down for it if I had a female jungle.
Okay.
I don't have jungles. I have IJs and I have coastals.
Gotcha.
If you're a DNA god, there isn't one.
Didn't we say what's his name? Morelia Moore? I don't know his name. In San Antonio. Yeah, he has some.
He doesn't know. It seems like he doesn't know if he has males or females. He's just throwing it out there. And I'm just throwing it out there too. So I don't think either of us know what the fuck we're doing.
Brian Hummel is also in San Antonio, and he has really, really, really nice jungles. He also has really nice jungle jacks if you're into that.
I'm also no.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm not going crazy trying to produce jungles.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Bill has some.
I feel bad though
I was going to say Bill would be,
because he's like moving around like he's looking for pussy right outside of his water bowl. Like he's like, where's the female? I feel bad for him because like I've been 14 too, and it's like he's never gonna be able to release that. That's a big burden.
Let's talk to Bill.
Yeah, but Bill likes to put green trees with carpets, with diamonds, with fucking ball pythons, with With dart frogs, so
I
you
don't think
never
he's
know.
produced a carball, but he has produced
He
a
would if-
Carpondro.
Yeah.
For
For
me,
me,
likes
I'm-
Carpondros.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but that's not. I'm not trying to crack that nut.
Well, we just need a loner female to satisfy the needs of
I have
14-year-old male.
Yeah,
I
but
have
it's
my-
not
I have
as
my
easy
head-
as said as done.
I have my heads that are mutts, but I want to produce caramel albinos. So it
That's
doesn't
way
it-
outside
it-
of the project.
It doesn't even remotely matter to me if the albino is pure or not, because I'm just going to be mixing it with the coastal anyway.
But it's for me, if I was like, oh, I have these 50-50 coastal jungles, you want these?
Yeah.
AKA fucking I threw together whatever I had. Like, no, fuck off. Like, I will never get off with selling 50-50 coastal jungles. That doesn't make any
No.
sense to me. And
You would be selling-
a
you-
jag sib, fuck jungle jag sib,
You would
fuck
be-
off.
Actually, I had a jungle jab sib that was fucking gorgeous.
No,
But,
I'm sure
yeah.
you did. But what I'm saying is that's not a jag sib. That's a 50-50 coastal jungle.
Or in my case, it was a 97 or 98% jungle coastal.
But at the end of the
yeah,
day, it's all whatever the fuck
it's
we
a-
think it
it's a at the end of the day, it is not a jungle. It is a jungle coastal. And
Yeah.
the jag sib thing is fucking a pointless moniker, because we don't say zebra sib, we don't say petite
We don't
sib,
say spider sib,
or
to
you
a
don't
ball
say a
python.
tessera sib.
Yeah, it's just a normal.
Yeah, it's a normal. That's pretty much it.
Lilypad asks, can you harvest semen from snakes?
I'm sure you can. I have no earthly idea how you go
I don't.
about
I don't
doing-
think we care to that.
Yeah.
You definitely could.
I was going to say Owen talked about doing it.
I mean, you got to jerk off your snake. Is that the
I have
first
no-
step? It will happen if you try to pop them and stuff.
Semen will come out.
Yeah, if it's the right time.
If it's the right time of year.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm
That's how I
not-
sex my bull snakes this past spring. I have no earthly I had no idea which one was a male and which one was a female. And so I sexed them to figure it out. And one you went to go pop and nothing came out. One you went to go pop and it was like, ugh.
You're like, what's the difference between sexing and jerking off your bull snake? There's a fine line.
There is a fine line. I guess the difference is that after sexing them, the snake feels a little bit what's the word?
Relieved?
No, after after sexing him, the snake feels a little bit used. After jerking him off, you feel a little bit used.
So if you don't mind, can you just jerk off my male jungle? Because he needs it.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, it's hard when you see all these guys like
babies outside of the body. You know how like we do with
if it's human sperm, I don't know much about biology. But I believe once they hit air, they die.
Not quite.
All right, you know more about you're a proven breeder, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, so you would know more about this.
I know that apparently there's goddamn. Apparently
This is gonna
there's
get real weird.
this is going to get really weird really quickly. There's a
porn is great. So that's
there's a difference between harvesting in humans. If you go into the testicle,
Do you go nutsack instead of
if you go into the testicle and you withdraw the sperm, there's something that happens during the process of getting the sperm from the testicle to the penis that weeds out the bad eggs, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And so there's a difference in the quality of the sperm that comes out versus the quality of sperm that's in there.
that you take from there.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So I have no idea if it's the same with snakes or not.
Do they don't have testicles.
Yes, they do. They have testicles. They're just internal.
Is like are the hemipenes testicles?
No, hemipenes are
they're
their
two
penis.
dicks, son?
Yeah.
They're double dicking down bitches.
Okay, a little much.
In case you didn't know.
Testicles.
Mhm.
But like, when we pop it, wouldn't the testicles come?
No,
out?
when you're popping them, you are basically exposing the penis.
But
You're
the
bonering them.
testicles are
Yes.
they're not connected to it.
They're connected, but they're up in the body and they're connected by
Okay, so there's
Yeah.
unless you split it open, you're
Yes.
not about to see them.
yes.
Okay, so snakes have testicles.
Hey man, you know? So basically, you can harvest them.
Two
I'm
dicks,
sure.
one hole.
Yeah.
Ew. We were talking about porn, and Evan said, "Is that what the bed is for in the back?" Because they were talking about porn. And, oh, Jesus.
What these two do in their own time is their own thing.
Our guests leave within 30 minutes of the podcast. I don't know what we do in that 30 minutes is up to us.
And Lily Pad's trying to get with Valiant.
We have these two people on our podcast,
Mhm.
Lily Pad and Valiant Faint, and they kind of flirt.
Ah,
But one was in the UK and one's, I think, in America.
But when you're 14, anything,
It's very
the internet's close enough.
mm-hmm.
Like Lily Pad's the aggressor. 2017, go women.
Hell yes.
I mean, that's very progressive of her, and I understand. But I mean, we have a bunch of jungle males over here who could really use a female.
Oh, Evan said the bed's for snake sex and snake jerking off. Is that what we?
Well, what we do, like we mentioned on the last podcast, someone at a snake show, which means it's science, said that if you vacuum, it replicates a thunderstorm. So what we do is we lay down the bed, we put a few snakes on the bed, and then we start vacuuming, and then they go out.
I have heard some first class
the dumbest shit.
bullshit in my day. That is probably the worst I have ever heard.
That was weird. They said they use a wet
You're not
mimic a thunderstorm.
You're not mimicking the thunderstorm.
It's the pressure.
What causes it is the barometric pressure that you cannot replicate. It's one of the reasons why bowling
actually,
pythons are so fucking hard to breed.
I spin around really fast and make a tornado so that it replicates a tornado, which makes them breathe.
Makes sense.
And that's fact. Oh God, what's going? Evan's getting
Jesus.
real weird too.
Valiant Fan said that he's gonna double dick Lily Pad down because of your word.
That's gonna become a thing. We're gonna make a shirt, double dick down.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Just like, what did you say last time? Like a banana cunt or something like that.
I may call the snake a banana cunt, a ball python.
Well, I mean, when you go from $25,000 to $25,
It's a
in
pretty
2
big
years,
cunt.
yeah.
There's only so many words that can describe your dismay if you spent $20,000 on a snake and then it's worth 500.
Well, the issue with the ball pythons is it's not like, okay, so you go out and you buy a Brettles python for $500 a pair.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know what the going rate is, so we'll just do that.
$250, but you're
okay.
right there.
So you buy Brettles pythons for $500 a pair. You raise them up, but they take 5 years to raise up, and you breed them. You produce 25 babies. If you sell each baby for $100, you will damn near quadruple your initial investment.
Did you just hear break a laugh? But the fact is that Brettles won't even go down that far because they don't lose much value because there's not many morphs involved and then there's not many people breeding them. So I think maybe they just get down to 200, 150 instead of.
If you buy a zebra jungle, if you bought a zebra jungle when it was $1,000 and you have bred that snake, I want to say good examples are still at least over 500, and you sell each baby that it produces for $200, you will more than make back your profit.
It's like, why
Your
would
investment.
you buy a $200 jungle when you can buy easily a $400 jungle and make more $400 jungles because they don't go down in price because they're
Exactly.
always as good. So just buy the more expensive one in the beginning, no matter what, just because that always tends to work.
We
out.
were on the blood python group that I'm a member of. We were talking about that, and you can buy blood pythons are very much like jungle carpets. You can buy $50 ones. You can buy $1,000 ones. One of my friends happens to breed babies that she won't let go for less than $600-700 a piece for normal blood pythons. Why? Because she has put a lot of fucking time, a lot of fucking energy, and that's what she wants for them.
And there's 20 people who appreciate that and will buy the clutch. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she
It's all
usually
about the market.
she usually has a waiting list for it. I've been on a waiting list for one of hers for 3 years now.
But I mean, that's the most amazing market you can be part of, one that doesn't have enough supply for the demand.
Exactly.
So I mean, we've been seeing so much about the Asian market on corn snakes. Outrageous. Like they're, you know, our snow corns here maybe $50, but over there they may be 800.
I had some random Chinese girl message me because she had seen one of my flame bull snakes, and she said she wanted to know how more about it, and I had initially deleted and blocked her because I figured she was a cam girl.
That's classic. Yeah.
All the ones who message him, I report them to Instagram and I block them.
They're just really nice.
She messaged me again and sent a picture of the snake that she had found on Facebook and said, I want to know more about this. So I went in and undid everything and we talked. And apparently the market over there for them is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how much I paid for my flame. We'll just say $200. That's like $1,000 snake over there.
Yeah.
Now it might be eaten to be in some kind of Chinese.
How dare you, sir?
Yeah. Some kind of Chinese.
That's why
remedy.
I don't ship my dogs over there anymore, you know? Racist.
Did someone say fried cat?
You don't.
Lily Pad's from Asia. She eats dogs straight up.
I've had dog before.
Ass first.
It's actually pretty. It's actually pretty tasty.
I'm sure if you put soy sauce on that bitch, put over some rice, I'll eat
Mexico.
Sir, that's not even that far.
I bought street tacos, and there was no. This thing was what I ate was definitely not cow, not goat, not sheep. There were no stray animals floating around.
So you ate that cartel human meat.
Exactly.
No,
dog isn't bad. It's a little stringy, but it's not bad.
It's a little chewy when you get to, you know, the fatty parts. But whatever. I would eat. I mean, meat is meat. I'd eat pretty much anything over rice with some sauce on it. I'll eat anything like that.
Pretty much, if you put it in a tortilla, I'll eat it. Yeah.
We go through about 20 tortillas in a week, pretty much.
We use mostly chicken.
I was gonna say
dog.
My favorite taco places, you have to know Spanish to order.
That's what we call it, El Cum, but it's definitely not.
Yeah,
it's El Come, I would say, but we're good.
In there and it's like I don't know what to say.
I'm eating cactus and shit.
It's how I had lingua. It's how I had cow tongue for the first time. Is I just ordered something and
you're like, I'll have one of those lamb tacos.
And turned out to be tongue. Turned out to be amazing, and it's one of my favorite tacos.
Yeah, that nice soft cow tongue. And I mean, I've heard that some of the lingua they actually put like the brains and all the other face meats kind of in with the tongue. That's wonderful. I mean, you gotta eat all of it.
The
man.
cheek is really tender too.
I think they put that shit in like chorizo and shit. They'll put some cheek in there. I like that. I mean, really, it's all just a part.
The last time I roasted a pig, the head was amazing. Going through and
people like the eyes, the organ meat. It doesn't matter.
I don't do the eyes. Organ meat I grind up and make into sausage or dog food.
That's the thing. Like if you feed a dog a raw animal or even a cooked animal, I mean, they'll subside on an animal for pretty long. People don't know that. It's kind of like our snakes. Dogs are often overfed as much as snakes are, but my dog's fat.
So's mine.
That's why she's sleeping in the next room for the last 8 hours. She just sleeps 24 hours.
My pit bull's an ortho dog, and we're trying to get his weight under control, and it's may or may not be working. My Yorkie is not an ortho dog, and my Yorkie is just a Yorkie.
Well, you need him to be a little bit fat because, like you said, your scrub pythons eat big meals every once in a while. So you've seen that video with the berm and the puppy?
I have watched the first part of it.
That screams Asia, and it's like that's probably normal. So
I watched the first part of it. I just wanted to see if it was actually what I thought it was going to be, and it was. And
it's exactly what you
I was sitting here going, "There's no fucking shit. There is a goddamn way that is. All right, fuck this." And
that's exactly what I thought it would be.
Unfriended and blocked the person who shared it to me. So yeah,
it's hard. I feel like in the hobby we tend to pretty much share all the shit we probably shouldn't. and I get all the bad shit.
Oh, like
constantly.
one of my favorite Evan, your goddamn spotted python loves to wrap my hand, and I love sharing pictures. Every time it does it, I'm like, look at this shit.
But they're like, that is going to attribute to the banning of all snakes.
I'm
And
like,
you're
why?
like,
It's just he thinks my hand is food, and it's cute. It's cute because he's corn snake size.
Yeah.
If it was my scrub python, first and foremost, yeah, I would not be sitting here lazily taking a picture.
Yeah.
Like, ha ha ha. I would be screaming bloody murder. And
It's hard. Like once I posted a picture, I had an adult ball python hit like my vein in my forearm.
oh fuck.
And it inflamed. It was huge. And I posted in a ball python group, and then everyone's like going hard on me. And I'm like, I'm just showing what could happen. And it's like, this is secret time. It's within a ball python group. Just don't share it outside of here, and we can talk about it. But it's like, this is what happens. It's just a mistake feeding. And I said it was my fault, you know, and it just hit my vein, and it really got really swollen and bruised up pretty bad. But it's like, I just want everyone to know this is what could happen. I don't want to put that out there and attribute to something terrible. I mean,
the adult carpet that hit that I got a feed response bite from, I still have nerve damage in my hand from it. And I post pictures of it. It was 100% my fault. I was feeding the cage above him, put it up, slid open the thing to check to see if he had water, reached in to grab the water. Yeah.
and it's like, in one way, I think there's way too many things that say snakes aren't dangerous. And in another way, there's way too many things that say snakes are dangerous. I think we've lost the reality of the fact if you have a large retic, there's most of the people in the snake industry that will say, no, this isn't a dangerous animal. They're all misunderstood and they shouldn't have any regulation, but they are really dangerous animals. And then
you are dealing, at the end of the day, you are dealing with a wild animal.
Yeah.
No matter how much you want to sugarcoat it, no matter how many times you've bred it, your corn snake is a wild animal. Now, it may not survive in the wild because it's been eating mice its entire life. So it may not even recognize an animal.
And it's white. That's not a very good.
But at the end of the day, they're a wild animal, and they will respond the way wild animals do.
And not always the same.
And not always the same. And you have to learn how to read your animals. Ryan, his bite that he took. I'm not going to say anything. He probably should have had a helper there with him when he was pulling him out.
But he's someone experienced to where you would get comfortable to the fact that you're like, I don't need anyone.
Exactly.
You know?
It was an accident. And he just happened to pick up that snake on the wrong day.
But if you talk to him, he's like, whatever, man, that's what happens because I'm dealing with these animals. What I want people to know is that's what happens. If you're dealing with those animals, those are the consequences. He's cool about it. But if someone else gets a retic and doesn't know about that, then it's
somebody else
story.
Gets a I feel
you
like
should know.
It's like if you are going to tear apart your car engine, you should have a basic understanding of how it works. If you're going to buy a retic, you should have a basic understanding of how that animal works, and understand that there are days where, okay, my hatchling carpets, there are days that they don't want to be touched. You know what? They're babies. They bite. My adults, if they don't want to be touched, guess what? You can sit in a dirty cage until you're in a much better mood. I'm not dealing with you.
But I mean, at the end of the day,
if I have to deal with them, that's one thing. If I don't have to deal with them, that's something else. In Ryan's case, he had to deal with them because he was shipping the animal.
And it's a snake so big that at the end of the day, you're getting hands on whether you like it or not.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's hard to say. Some people want to say that everyone should be able to own one, but I mean, you should know what you're doing. You have some you're lucky to have the internet and have some really experienced people out there to help you out.
The problem is that not everybody who's experienced is on the internet. Like one of the best.
That is true.
I was going to say one of the best diamond python breeders in the country, possibly in the world, probably barely knows how to turn on a computer. And he just sits in Southern California and breeds diamonds, and That's it.
But they sell because 10 people know what he's talking about.
Yes.
That works for only a very small subsect of person. Otherwise, if you're breeding ball pythons, you better know how to use the internet, because you might want to differentiate yourself from the million other people. But
Very, very much so.
if you're just breeding scrubs or whoever else, does David Means have a Facebook page? I don't know. Probably not.
Actually, he does.
He has his own.
He has a personal page. I don't know if he has a.
But it's not. It may not be like D Means Pythons. Blah blah blah. Like marketing my snakes. It's like he's the guy for scrubs.
I was going to say,
now.
as awful as it sounds, I have at least 10 people that want scrubs from me at the second I produce them. And I'm like, I'm not even sure if I'm going to release any of them. Those little fuckers will be gold.
Mm-hmm. It's so
especially
hard.
if they're tame. If they're like the male and are
good
actually
luck
edible,
with that.
oh my God, that would be amazing.
I mean, you can also hit the lottery tomorrow if you play it.
Very true.
But I mean, there's just some of those pythons that are just not worked with enough to where the fact is, if you produce Maclots pythons every year, maybe you'd sell them every year, or there's all types of things to get into.
Again, Nick produces Maclots pythons,
That's true.
never runs ads
He's
for
like,
them and sells them. And sells out of them every year.
Yeah.
If you have a Morelia guy on here and they don't know who Nick Mutton is, they need to. That's a definite issue.
But if we have someone who's not obsessed with him, I'd be interested in that, because I think all y'all are obsessed with him. Rightly so, justified. But yeah.
No, there's not anyone who's like Nick Mutton doesn't know what he's talking about. There's like zero people. Or who are like, it's just the fact is sustained success over a certain amount of time with Morelia and some of the things that he's worked with, whether it's olive pythons or, some of the Antaresia and stuff like that. He's had some success that it's like.
Didn't he produce, I don't know if he produced Tannenbars or if his Tannebar slugged out.
I know, someone who deserves all the respect in the world, and then again would be fucking what's his name, Kevin McCurley, he's done scraps over and over and over again. He's also done water monitors over and over and over again.
Have you seen his setups for his water monitors and the amount of work that they're
like classrooms, like
when you get a baby monitor from him, that baby monitor is hand tame and imprinted that humans are a good thing. That the amount of work that it takes to do that is fuck.
I think it's just a weird thing where he actually just cares about the animals and not about business. So it's like he'll do ball pythons, but he doesn't really give that many fucks anymore. And he'll go on to monitors now and he'll produce scrubs. Like he produces scrubs.
Have you heard some of his names for some of his ball python combinations?
And the thing is, he doesn't even tell anyone. From what I realized, he's like, well, this is an Inferno, Mako, whatever, and I'm not going to tell you what's in it.
My understanding when he produced the first Soul Suckers, I want to say that's one that he came up with was Soul Sucker. His response at the show when asked what, buy it and breed it, figure it out that way.
But it's like, that's a terrible marketing plan.
That's a
bad investment to take.
That would only work.
That's terrible.
If you're Kevin McCurley
and you give zero fucks and you braid your ponytail, son. That's
I was
zero
going to say,
fucks.
if you listen to him talk about monitors and retics, basically anything but ball pythons, you can tell that he just really loves.
And he's like super into like timber rattlers too, like and does shit in the field.
He's one of the big time advocates, and I don't know if he's actually engaging in the research or just helping fund it.
I think he does that fungus.
That fungus thing, yeah.
Yeah. So he obviously there's some timber rattlers that have been seen in the Northeast that have some type of fungus that actually makes them stay out longer during the winter. They don't den properly, so they stay out and freeze to death, basically.
I didn't know how the fungus worked, and I didn't know it had gone to timber rattlers. I know that it had been affecting garter snakes.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same thing, but he's seen it in dens throughout the Northeast, and they're working with figuring out what's going on, because obviously the timber is already very vulnerable in that area. So it's like that plus this new fungus that's obviously being brought on by other environmental factors. And I mean, things like chytric are things that the hobby is bringing into us as far as amphibians that we're bringing from South and Central America. We're kind of spreading it to here in the U.S. I don't know if anything that's chytric is a fungus that comes from like amphibians. So they're seeing a lot in like dart frogs. That's what's killing like all the dart frogs in South and Central America.
No shit.
So like I believe it's like the golden toad is almost extinct because of it. They may have like one pair in captivity, but if they put it into the wild, they get this fungus that has been brought on supposedly by global warming or just higher mean temperatures out in Central and South America. I'm no fucking scientist. I'm just a fucking retard who sits here and looks at my computer. But I mean, that's what it seems like. And like places like Josh's frogs test actually all their amphibians or a lot of their amphibians for chytric, making sure that they don't spread it over here.
So kind of like with the colubrid thing, and what's that?
There's all types of fungus that seem to be going on.
What's that horrible disease that affects
crypto?
Crypto, yes.
Yes.
Kind of like the corn snake breeders in crypto or the Australian guys in the sunshine virus.
It seems like things like nidovirus in green trees, crypto and corn snakes, the unnamed snake aids in ball pythons. There seem to be or IBD in boas. It seems to be all these things that may get a swelling, at least for corn snakes and boas. I know it's a swelling somewhere in the middle of the snake, to where eventually they start regurgitating meals and then eventually die. And then it's passed on, but it's not shown until later in life. So it's really hard to catch.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know anything about snakes.
Nope, nothing at all.
We've gone only.
Do you know what we do know about eating dinner?
And apparently she's hungry.
I'm
And
very hungry.
the one thing that I have learned in my tenure of being married, a hangry wife is not a happy wife.
This is the longest we've ever had a podcast ever. So take this and remember this. 2 hours and 40 minutes. I know you could talk for 6 hours, but 2 hours and 40 minutes. NPR doesn't even go this long.
Actually, they typically do 2.5 to 3 hours.
Oh, I thought it was 2 hours.
No,
there you go.
It's 2 hours. It's 2 hours live, and then they usually go about another hour.
That's Dave's way of saying go fuck yourself. Well, Dave, thanks for coming.
Absolutely. It was a blast. So I'm going to have to do this again.
It's crazy just to have people come over our fucking apartment for no reason, just to talk shit about snakes and fucking hang out.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for coming. Do you have a website and shit now?
Actually, I do.
Oh my
I
God.
want to say it's moreliaevolution.org.
He doesn't know his website, so it must be upkept with all the most recent available animals.
Oh no, it has no available animals on there whatsoever. It's basically my blog. I do something similar to this, except for I prefer the written platform to verbal. I don't like the way my voice sounds on radio. So
We'll see in the comments.
absolutely. So I just do a blog, and I will get the website and make damn sure.
Yeah, I'll put it in the notes. But do you have a Facebook?
Yes, Morelia Evolution on Facebook and Dave PERLICH on Facebook.
And do you have carpet pythons for sale?
Not at the moment.
How dare you?
I know.
What are you doing? Are you not breeding this year, or are you breeding this year?
I have pairs together, but we're about to move, and I have no earthly idea how that's going to affect everything. Hopefully, hopefully it'll still be soon enough to where I can get something.
So if you guys are looking for scrubs, you can hit them up in 12 years when they
12 to 15
they
years.
reacclimate.
Yeah. That's assuming I haven't moved again, in which case I'm fucked.
Yeah. Just kidding. You're going to produce scrubs next year, right?
God, hopefully. That would be amazing.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Port City Pythons, PortCityPythons.com, Port City Pythons, wherever. What do you want to say?
If you made it this far, you're on the team.
You are most certainly on the team, if not in the locker room, in the upper management. What does that even mean? I don't know. We're stopping this. It's getting so weird.